enough of Keanu. Yes, it's true. Whenever we see you in another movie, get to wishing that you were in them all. Our hearts cry out, Keanu, haven't aged a day in 30 years. Now we're looking back on your career. Can't get enough of Keanu.
I'll show them a boner they'll never forget.
I mean, pulling a boner as
It's
like
the unpullable boner.
the unstoppable force meets the unpullable boner.
Oh, what a
that's
good
how the
phrase.
episode will begin.
Yeah.
I love that
Oh
phrase.
boy.
Is anyone excited for
welcome to the
Death
boner
Stranding?
zone.
Coming out in a
Zone?
week.
Oh no.
It does?
Jesus.
Yeah, it comes out on the 8th.
I'm
Wait.
excited to watch you play it and figure out what this game actually is. I will say, I really like the theme song by Churches, and I listen to it a lot.
Yeah, Traverses is one of a
Traverses?
couple featured artists.
There's a whole
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really liked when they did the concept album for Vavitch. It was just like Chaverches meets Vavitch. I'm just into
Wait,
this.
was that like
no,
an official...
that's garbage bullshit I just made up so I can say Vavitch.
Identical.
You're very
Europa.
excited. I was like, this combines two
We're
things I
fusing
like.
the double V's together now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, Churches only has
Humor.
one V.
Jokes.
Oh right. Oh sorry. Well, the V that's being used
As a
incorrectly.
U.
So
Right.
I should have said.
It needs to be rounded.
Churches.
Ye oldie English.
yeah, exactly.
We should try and talk like that because today's a classy episode.
Oh, if
Oh,
we can
yes.
all just speak in iambic pentameter for this entire episode, I think this would like rocket launch.
Boy, do
Me
I
trying
even
to
remember what
maintain that
is.
while also watching the levels
Yeah.
and like all the technical stuff would
Yeah.
kill me.
You
that,
think so?
That would be if we ever, or if you guys or the listeners ever want to hear me have an aneurysm on mic, that's the way to do it.
Well, listen, what we'll do is we'll all just do it, and
Yeah.
then when it's time for you to do it, we'll, so to speak, clear the floor
Yeah.
and allow you the space
see, hold on.
to really like give it a
Yeah.
shot.
Hold on, let me give it a whirl.
And this is when was
The levels are the deepest bane of Pat. The Torpeys will try dearly to destroy. The show about Keanu, which we do, Much Ado, is what we're going to
enjoy? Did we say?
speak? I don't know. I
That
lost
was-
it by a third. Sorry.
I was just saying
That
talk,
sounded-
talk all fancy.
Yeah, you just
Yes.
that's iambic pentameter.
So,
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Matt, do you mean we shall speak like this while we are doing the episode?
Yeah, but your meter's all garbage.
Yeah, I'm not doing the meter. It's just Matt just said talk fancy.
Just talk fancy.
Speak fancy.
We're not friggin' Etrigan.
Is that
Nice.
That's
a
a good
Shakespearean
I'm not good at
reference?
comics, and that was a good.
Etrigan the
Etrigan?
Demon, a DC Comics character created by Jack Kirby, who speaks
I'm-
in rhyme. His name is Jason
yeah.
Blood,
Oh.
and then when he
Oh.
speaks the rhyme of the demon Etrigan, he transforms into the demon Etrigan. He's really cool. He's featured in one episode of Batman the Animated Series that
Like-
also features Clary and the Witch Boy.
Yeah.
He's cool.
He's
That
very,
does
very
sound cool.
plays a very good role in Swamp Thing from Alan Moore Swamp Thing run.
Yep.
Which is why
Yep.
I know him.
Like Zakora from My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
Does she also speak in iambic pentameter?
She speaks in rhymes.
Ooh,
And
that's
it's
nice.
Real, and
What's
she's
her
sounds
cutie?
cute,
What's
yeah.
her cutie mark?
She doesn't have one. She's a zebra pony.
Wait a minute.
This sounds like
so
bullshit.
zebra ponies don't get
Nah,
get
nah,
cutie
nah.
marks?
Real weird because she's like a zebra patterned pony,
Yeah.
and she lives in the woods, and she does magic.
What kind
with
of magic?
like cauldrons.
I
So
thought-
it's
Ooh,
real
she makes
weird.
brews,
Like
if
she
you will.
lives in a hut, and I'm just like, what are we doing, Hasbro? What is happening?
Clearly, this
Yeah.
is our
They're
classiest
trying to-
episode
they're
because
trying
we've already
to-
talked about obscure characters from My Little Pony.
Well, I mean,
Oh
they're
my
trying
God,
obviously
yeah.
to push the Satanism agenda. We all remember.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Finder papers came out. Just go to FBI.org.
Boy.
The moms are all up in arms about that.
It turns out it was real.
Wait,
Friendship is magic. Friendship is devil worship.
See,
Ooh, yeah.
the,
What
the
kind of magic?
unholy,
That's what we're
the
trying to
pink
figure out
wedding,
now.
or the black mass, or the pink wedding, or whatever of
the mask
these-
of Phantasm.
are these things of Harry
Sure.
Potter
I'll work with it. Yeah.
and My Little Pony. And what would be the third in this sort of triforce of occult cartoons and
that
like,
have
and like
infiltrated the popular culture
that Steven
in a way.
Universe? I don't know.
Yeah, let's say Ben
No,
10.
Steven
I
Universe.
mean, well, Steven Universe is doing the gay agenda, so.
Oh, they're doing
Really?
the gay, so that's its own thing. But
But
what's
like,
like
also
the
magic.
but like, what's like the
But it's
evil
like
like
space.
witchcraft one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the third in the triumvirate? Because obviously it has to be a triumvirate,
so
right?
wait, what are the
No,
first
it
two
have to,
we're
there
dealing
have to be
with?
five to make a
There's
pentagram.
5, yeah.
Oh,
on
yes.
each
Shit,
side.
that's a
We're
lot.
never gonna come up with 5.
Ooh.
Harry
Gravity
Potter.
Falls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lots
Yeah.
of,
No, for real, that one.
Like spooky evil.
I have
read 3.
watched that cartoon.
It's
Illuminati
great.
thing is it the right? Isn't he
Bill
the final guy?
Cipher.
Bill
Yeah.
Cipher, right?
Past guest of the show, Mike Curran
It's
has.
all up here, baby.
Yeah. Hey, past guest of the show, Mike Curran has the Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Falls, autograph tattooed on his arm.
I love that
because
'cause-
Alex Hirsch signed his arm and said, "Don't get this tattooed," and Mike said, "I
Watch
will,"
me.
and then he went and did it.
A mere hours later, was
Jake,
I
you
with him in the
witnessed it.
tattoo parlor.
Watch me soar, motherfucker.
I watched him walk into
I
the
love
distance,
that.
talk to Alex Hirsch, and then come back and be like, "Look, you wrote this on my arm." And I was like, "That's awesome." And
In a
he's
way,
like,
he-
"All right, now follow me."
So in a way, Mike betrayed the trust of one of his heroes.
Yeah.
He did. Look, Mike makes decisions differently than we do.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's just say
Anyway-
he has a brain that's different from ours, and we'll leave it at that.
But what we're getting at, Mike, this is also a test to see if you're listening, because we'll never mention that we talked about this to you in person.
Oh,
but
wow.
but like
Clandestine.
exactly,
This is a
But-
petty
and
podcast.
As anyone listening can surely tell by now,
Wait, we're recording?
I would like to welcome
been
you all
recording
to
the whole
Can't
time.
Get Enough of Keanu, the internet's premier Keanu Reeves podcast, in which we explore the filmography of that great, ageless, enigmatic Canadian actor. Movie by movie, I'm Patrick Willems.
I'm Jake Torpey.
I'm Matt Torpey.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, and we have a guest.
Listen, the wind up. We want you to relish the word, but we can take it back like 2%.
It was
have a
almost
guest.
a
Yes, thank
whole
you.
phrase. I loved it.
We have a guest
Listen.
today. It's sort of a crossover episode because I'd like to welcome one of my co-hosts of the Infinity Podcast, Rachel Schenk. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's good. I'm so excited to finally meet the Torpeys.
Well,
There
and-
was a running bet as to who among the Screen Snark universe would meet them first. I win. Take it, Matt Storm.
Because everyone has to have multiple podcasts.
we're
Everyone
about to-
has at least 2 podcasts.
It's fine.
Yeah.
The podcast world, especially in New York, is a fairly incestuous network of just like.
It's nice. Call it a family.
Yeah.
Don't say incestuous.
I
Well,
said incestuous.
Well,
That is part of being in a family sometimes.
Yeah, man. Come on.
And sometimes it's just
You know.
like, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm going to marry you. No, I'm going to marry your cousin, who's actually you.
Who's actually you?
Shakespeare.
Hey,
That
whoa,
is
whoa, whoa, whoa,
true.
Rachel, slow down. That is
What?
way too on topic.
Oh, sorry.
Because
I'm
first,
just trying to drive this truck.
no, we have so
This
much time.
4-person van. This sedan of death.
We're not even 10 minutes into the
Keep
episode.
it coming. Sedan of Death, I like. I want to
Sedan
run
of, I
with
would
that.
watch that movie.
Yeah.
Sedan of
Oh,
Death.
so I
Yeah.
was at
Sedan in real life.
I was at Nighthawk movie trivia on Monday,
Bad
and it
movie,
was
Dan in real life.
horror movie themed trivia that night.
Yeah.
And there was this one question where they gave 4 movie titles, and you had to pick which one was not a real movie, and they were all death related titles.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
The
Okay.
titles you want to
Yeah.
Let's try it out. Yeah.
They
Okay.
were Death House, Death Spa, Death Orgy, Death Bed.
Okay, I'm going to say
I'm gonna
it's
say-
Death Spa.
Death
No.
Bed.
Okay.
Okay.
The one that's not real.
What were they again?
Death House.
Because Death Spa is definitely real.
Death House, Death Spa, Death Orgy, Death Bed.
Death House.
Okay.
Death Spa.
Death Bed.
You're all wrong.
No,
Death Orgy?
It was Death
There's
House.
no film called Death Orgy.
There's no way there's no like
No.
sexploitation
Fuck
film
outta
called
here.
Death
It's
Orgy.
true. It's
I
true.
can't
I
believe
seen
it.
Deathbed, the bed that eats people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Patton
I will
Oswalt had
say
a
my
band that
team
I remember.
got
Yeah.
got that question correct.
Death House. That's so boring.
Congratulations.
How are we not jumping on this open IP that we did not know about?
I mean, we did make Death Bidet.
We made Death Bidet, but let's make Death Orgy.
Let's make Death Orgy.
Yeah.
By the way, everyone, it's on YouTube. We made a
Yeah.
fake trailer for a horror movie 2 years ago called Death Bidet.
Death
we
Bidet.
we
Yeah.
actually booked a hotel room with a bidet, and yes, we poured blood all over that bidet.
Yep.
Oh no.
So go check it out on the old YouTubes. But
Yep,
what
the
I wanted,
tagline is "It's your worst enema."
Yeah, don't forget.
that was the whole reason we made it because
Yeah.
you guys, one of you came up with that tagline, and I said we're gonna make it now.
Yeah, and it was funny.
And
Wow.
then we
Like that video.
we pulled our money and booked a hotel
We booked a
room.
nice hotel in Manhattan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, listeners, you too can live the dream of booking a hotel room and ruining a bidet in the name of art.
Art.
I will say that bidet,
Art.
fully functional and spotless,
Was
even
it,
after we finished
we
up.
Here's-
cleaned
okay,
it.
hold on. I
Yeah.
have an important question. Did it have temperature control? Was it one of those
Yes,
bidets?
it did.
Did
it?
it?
I don't
There
remember.
were-
I remember it had
I
pressure.
love
There were
it.
two. There were two knobs I believe. We could
Yeah.
also look at the footage, I guess. But
Yeah.
like, I think there were two knobs.
One was like strength or like height.
Yeah.
right. One was
And one was temperature.
And
yeah.
one was temperature.
And one was
yeah.
it must have been temperature. Yeah.
Okay, because my
How
bidet
hot and hard
only
do you
has
want
one
it?
setting, and that's ouch.
I'm actually now just looking up the trailer or Death Bidet.
I love that they low-key
mean-
just went by with me saying I own a bidet. It's cool.
Oh, you
Wait.
do?
I do.
In your apartment?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Did you
Yeah.
specifically get one, or did the apartment
Yeah, you
come
can
with
like
it?
buy one. I bought the like $30 one.
Wait, do you have the like?
Wait,
okay,
I don't
you know,
understand.
Important
This is important.
Wait,
My butt health matters.
Important question.
Yes.
Do you have the bidet that's like an add-on to the toilet?
Yes, so you
Oh.
like disconnect the
Okay.
the
So
you-
water to the toilet, connect
Right.
it to the bidet, and
See,
then
we were looking for the
Oh.
specific separate bidet.
And that's pretty easy to
That's
do.
what we needed.
oh yeah, it was so easy.
I
I've,
bet as,
I've
like,
now
you-
done it twice because I bought it for one apartment and then I moved and I
See,
took the bidet
Rachel,
with me.
as you can see, here's the
Okay.
footage from Death Bidet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what good B-roll.
Oh yeah.
This is high class.
It really is.
Rachel, you know me. Am I ever see? This is the bidet.
You
And,
gotta. You gotta.
Wait,
What?
I know that building.
Yeah, from the Upper West Side.
Yeah, that's
72nd Street.
Yeah, that's where Bathhouse Bet got her start singing in the bathhouse. Bette Midler.
Oh.
It's also that building. What is it called?
This is really great for our listeners who really have a visual reference right now for
what is
what
it
we're
called?
talking about.
Rachel
Come
is
on.
giving us
I
fun
used
facts
to-
about
I
the
used to
building
do
for-
this.
that's in
This
About a
building-
building on a computer screen that I am holding. up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is
was,
good, though.
Was the first fireproof building because what they did was they filled all the walls with sand.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to temperature control it, so they filled it with sand and then they pumped pipes through the sand, and they pumped cold water through the pipes to help temperature control it. So even in the hottest days of summer, that building was like 70 degrees, and that was like at the turn of the century.
Because of all the
Whoa.
cold
Shit.
waterlogged
Yeah, they
sand in
also
the pipes?
had a like a farm on the roof, and they did not have blood squirting out of someone's mouth through a bidet.
Because the water pressure going up his butt was too hard?
Sorry
Yeah.
for the
Sorry, I'm
for the nerd out on that building. I love that building.
That
I
was
can't remember what
cool.
it's called.
I've never been to the
a lot
building.
about
That
that
is
building.
that is not where we shot
No,
this.
no. But that building's really cool, and I can't remember what it's called because I haven't guided a tour in a year.
It's
know what?
beautiful on the
That's
outside.
okay.
It's very, very nice
Yeah.
looking.
Well, I want to do a hard pivot right now. We're only 12 minutes into the episode.
Yeah.
Because
Let's keep it. Let's keep it on topic.
Okay.
early this morning.
OT.
This morning,
This
I
morning.
checked our PO box. Remember, we do have a PO box. It is PO Box 380333, Brooklyn, New York 11238. If everyone wants to send us stuff, and we had some mail, and I want us to look at it and talk about it right now.
Okay.
Because the Torpeys don't know about it.
And I will judge it as I didn't get a present.
Exactly. Hey, you've gotten lots of presents on our other show.
Yeah, but I'm not getting a present now.
That's all that matters.
It's
really.
moment
Yeah.
to moment.
Yeah.
Every day is new.
You got a glass of wine.
I do have a glass of wine. I also
That's
have a
true.
beer in my purse.
Also, don't forget that
Thank you for the wine. by
today's
the
a
way.
gift.
Cheers.
That's why they call it the
Welcome.
present.
Exact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
don't forget that. Okay, that's literally it gives me life when I think about such a thing.
when I think about such a thing.
So this first, the first issue at hand,
Yeah.
as we've talked about in the past, from when we recorded our Point Break episode,
Yeah.
that everyone had Keanu T-shirts, except for Matt.
Yeah.
And we've been really getting on Matt's case about that,
Yeah.
just making fun of him.
He's bad.
Yeah. Put
And,
my feet to the fire for
he's a
real.
bad boy.
And
Yeah.
so we've got a delivery from Matt, from listener JD Martin.
JD! Hey!
That was going to
JD.
knock over a ton of shit.
While they open this, congratulations on the new podcast.
Oh yeah, dude. We'll be seeing you in court, my friend.
What? Oh no.
Okay,
Yeah.
ASMR.
I'm a proud mama about it. It's fine.
Let's see what we got
Ooh,
here.
we're doing an unbagging. What do we got?
Uh-oh. I'm excited. Oh, it's very good.
Oh, it's really cute.
I can't even
cute.
judge it. It's so cute. Oh,
Matt,
I wanna
describe
kiss
what you
it.
have.
Well, I have a beautiful sort of, what is he probably saying?
He's
party
like,
on?
hang
10.
loose.
Hang 10? He's doing like a
Hang
hang
loose?
10?
Hang loose.
Hang loose. Hang
Yeah.
loose.
Well,
or
it's
the
Ted
letter
Theodore
Y
Logan,
in
my friends.
sign language.
My friend Ted Theodore Logan, just looking chill, saying hang loose and be excellent to one another. Thank you, JD. I'm actually, you guys, Phil, I'm gonna put this on. I'm just gonna
Okay.
go change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And we'll
for
take a
sure.
picture of Matt wearing the shirt, and it'll be on.
Hold on, before you do it, I want to kiss his sweet little face. I want to kiss
Rachel, don't be weird.
Isn't Keanu is so adorable.
He's so kissable.
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Even in this one, he's real kissable.
The question is, and we'll talk in the movie we're discussing today.
Yeah.
Has he been hotter than he is in this movie?
Debatable.
No.
Very debatable.
It's hard to disagree, but also I'm very deeply connected to the role that he's playing, as I also played the role.
Okay.
Yeah. So I might be coming from a little bit.
Well,
of a
hold
bias.
up. When we ask you about your Keanu Chronicles, which
Oh.
we'll get to,
We'll get
but
to.
It's a
We'll get
segment
there.
that people love.
we'll do an
Yeah.
addendum.
Okay.
We'll also ask what movie you think Keanu Reeves is the cutest in.
Oh boy, I've not watched a ton, but
That's okay. It's okay. We'll save it. Matt is back, and he's wearing the shirt, and it fits.
Oh yeah, it's
Looks
really nice
great.
on you,
like
buddy.
a glove.
it's like it
Yeah.
was made for him.
Or
It
like
has that cool like like that weird like almost like vinegary smell.
Oh, the
That,
new
like,
shirt.
the new
that
shirt
classic
packaging.
new shirt smell.
Doesn't
Soaked
it smell
in
like
red
the,
wine
doesn't it smell like
vinegar.
the Paws dipping dye for eggs on Easter? Did you give
Let
it
me
a
smell
whiff?
it. I'm gonna give it a
away.
whiff.
That's so
Yeah.
specific, but I think I'm right.
Smell the shirt.
He's right, folks.
Rachel, smell my shirt, please.
Okay,
It smells exactly like the dipping dye for Easter eggs.
it
There's
really
a vinegary,
does.
which, by the
Hell
way,
yeah.
was just is just putting food coloring in vinegar.
Huh?
Oh well, that would.
They're
so
ripping us all
vinegar. It smells like
I
vinegar.
meant
vinegar then.
Wait, so
Yeah.
guys, so this other one.
Oh, another one.
I want to read the note attached to it first.
We're just flexing on you, Rachel, at the moment.
I love it.
Look at all of our
I'm
gifts.
excited.
We've on the Infinity Podcast, we've opened a lot of mail.
This is
People
our
sent us
first
a lot
time.
of stuff.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
truly
opening some
our-
mail
this is
on the
literally the
podcast.
first time.
Okay, so let me read this.
We're new
Hi.
to this.
Me and my brother are huge fans of Keanu Reeves, not only as an actor but as a person.
He's
We
great.
believe him to be an amazing and breathtaking. We believe him to be amazing and breathtaking.
Yes.
I love to paint, so I decided to do a small painting in his honor. And since you guys have a podcast dedicated to him, it felt appropriate to send it to you. Hope you like it, and if you ever meet Mr. Reeves, please tell him that we love him. Sincerely, just trying to get the pronunciation right.
Do not blow this.
Yeah.
Sincerely,
This is all on you.
Sidra and Mohammed Hassan.
Aww.
And
I'm so excited.
And
to
now
open
in
it.
here we have
Oh,
artwork.
fuck yeah. Yeah.
Dang.
It's beautiful.
Some really nice artwork of
Beautiful.
of John Wick.
Yeah.
He almost
himself.
has like it's like the Japanese flag / the one dead shot. Doesn't it look
Yeah, a little bit.
or blood? Is it
Yeah.
Bloodshot, the upcoming
Bloodshot.
film with Vin Diesel based
Well,
on the Valiant
comics.
comic.
Yeah.
And just so everybody has a visual, we actually shared this on the Twitter page too. This was that really cool one of Keanu Reeves, sort of in the foreground, John Wick style, shaded blue. His sleeve is a little red, and then there's a version of him walking towards, I guess your perspective
with a gun.
With a gun.
With a
both,
gun.
Both John Wick, I'm assuming,
As he is
Yeah.
wont
Yeah.
to do, Jonathan Wick.
just a double wick.
And you know what, guys? I'm gonna get this
Don't
thing
set him
framed.
off.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It's
you should. That's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. This
Hell
is
yeah.
this is so nice of you and really amazing.
Yeah.
Our listeners are good. Our podcast might not be good, but our listeners are good.
Yeah.
By my troth doth the sweet winds never kiss my brow so sweet as the visage of such a... oh, fuck. How did Shakespeare do it?
He's a genius, you know?
He just talked like that. That's how they talked
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just
Everyone constantly spoke like that, so it was really easy to write.
How
this
many
stuff.
words did he are attributed to him, his invention?
Probably like 20 or so.
A lot.
Nice.
This is, I will say,
Quick
this is
brain
very
draw.
difficult to sit here and be a guest and just be like, I want to know that. And I'm like, don't look it up. You can't. We can't. It's not right.
I think it's like
Yeah.
Jake, look it
multiple-
up.
I think it's
Ah.
like 300. I think it's like multiple
it's
hundreds
a
of
lot.
words.
Also, I don't think they spoke in iambic pentameter.
They all did. They did until about
Doubtful.
1687.
Doubtful.
Yeah.
The Vatican
Yes.
II really put a quash on it, you know?
Exactly.
The 1960s, birth control, everything went out of control, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are full of facts on this podcast. We
I
know
love
what we're
a
talking
hot-
We
about.
know all of how history works.
I love a hot Vatican II take.
This is actually
Let's
an
just say
educational
that-
podcast.
Well, it
We
will
don't
be.
get
Days
credit
of the
for
church
that.
are long
Guys,
gone.
let us get fancier, okay? Now it's gonna be classy for once, okay? We're talking about Shakespeare. I know it's a sex comedy, basically.
Billy Shakes.
Billy Shakes is
Shaky P.
getting his jollies out.
Who's a virgin? Who's not? Will it ruin your life?
Did he
Are
mail
you
a bed to his
girl?
wife?
Yes.
Can he be? and Billy Shakes.
Oh, yeah.
Together again.
I know this might as well be Porky's,
By the
but-
way, for anyone who wasn't aware and for some reason didn't look at the title of the episode,
Wow.
this episode is about Much Ado About Nothing. The 1993 film adapted and directed and starring
And produced by
Kenneth Branagh.
Jake just so earnestly did an Owen Wilson when he looked up how many words Shakespeare coined.
Did you get a glimpse? Did you get a glimpse?
No, I
on my
said
screen?
like 300
Ooh,
plus.
should
Let's
we-
all
should we
take bets.
guess?
How many
Okay.
words is Shakespeare attributed to having invented?
I'm going to say 407.
Well, you said
407.
wow in a way that makes me think it's much higher. Oh,
Take as you will. I mean, 407 is a fucking lot, Matt.
yeah, but
Yeah, but he wrote a lot of fucking plays.
he like essentially like changed language according to some people. So
and to one book changed the way people thought.
yeah, well, that would make sense, right?
Yeah, like the idea of self-reflection and like thinking internally came from Shakespeare. I'm sorry I got real about this. There is
No, I
I
wanna
can't
know.
remember who wrote this book, but it's like what is it called?
Harold Bloom has the good one. I don't know if that's him.
Yeah, I think it's Harold Bloom.
Yeah,
Just like
who I
about
keep
how
mentioning.
how
R.I.P..
Shakespeare not only like wrote plays that like changed like society, but also like changed our internal thinking processes as
Right.
human beings. So
That's wild.
I'm gonna
Just
say
because of soliloquies, and did he sort of?
2,604.
Wow. Okay.
That's real high.
Yeah, that's
Damn,
good though.
Price is Right rules.
Oh, then I say $1.
Lay it on us, brother.
Wait, no, Matt, what did you say?
What'd you say?
I had the
You said like 300?
handicap of going first when you guys were lowballing it. Now you're like saying 2,000.
I don't know. I just I
bet
want
it's
it to be that
1,000.
many.
I bet it's 1,046 words.
Okay. 1,700.
Whoa! You were closest.
It says
Damn.
this little thing.
but I did go over, so I don't win the boat.
That's
so
true.
so
Damn
according
it.
the
to
rules are applying.
according to the website
I'm
Shakespeare
sorry, beautiful
Online.
boat that's in this living room. I don't win you today.
Wow, what a nice boat.
Damn it.
According to Shakespeare Online, the English language owes a great debt to Shakespeare. He invented over 1,700 of our common words by changing nouns into verbs,
Yep.
changing verbs into adjectives,
Yep.
connecting words never before used together,
For sure.
adding prefixes and suffixes, and devising words wholly original.
Yeah, and also like a million idioms.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Like method to my madness is from Hamlet.
I bite my thumb at thee. Is that a
Yeah.
common? that's one of my favorite.
People say it all the
expressions.
We say it all the time.
You bite my thumb at the. Fuck.
Like, listen to this podcast.
Well.
You hear us say it at least like twice per episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fly at you when
A
I'm
pox
angry.
on both your houses.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
He had some choice insults still to this day.
Yeah.
It's
Man.
true.
He's
Boy,
good, guys.
I was such a Shakespeare nerd when I was in college. I was just like, oh yeah, I definitely eyed the Shakespeare insults books. Yeah, I loved it.
I always thought about buying one, but I never did. But some of that shit is
Thou
like
naughty
is like
varlet.
yeah, thy foul Harridan. I don't know.
Harridan, I love it. That's not even a
Yeah.
real word, is it?
It is a real word.
Harridan, what does it mean?
I think like a whore or something.
Okay.
A loose woman.
Sure.
Something like that.
I'm
you know?
sure through a couple of Shakespeare's plays he's used a couple synonyms for that.
Same thing as like slatternly. I think that's
slatternly?
also isn't
Guys,
that like,
Yeah, because like a slattern is.
these are just like all synonyms for prostitute.
yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
find the list of the highest grossing Shakespeare adaptations, but
It's not Romeo plus Juliet.
no, maybe, but
I hope
are you
not.
guys?
But
Are
I
you
bet
guys?
it
But it probably is.
Are you guys aware of how last week they completely changed the whole format of Box Office Mojo?
What?
No. I'm gonna be real honest with you,
wait,
Pat.
this is
No,
not-
Pat.
This
Go
has been like
on.
a scandal on film Twitter. But they did, and it used to be on Box Office Mojo. They would have like keywords, and like
us.
you could go to a movie's page and look at like the different categories it was in, and where those movies like grosses are ranked.
Right.
And
Jeez.
it's not set up that way anymore. Oh, it sucks. It sucks. IMDb now owns Box Office Mojo, and I hate the new format, and it's not useful. And I can't find what I wanted to.
More like box office bozo.
Yeah.
Whoever did that.
Well said, Jake.
Nice,
well
dude.
Sad.
I'm trying to get up to
More
the
like,
Shakespearean
more
quality
like
of my
box
insults.
office,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Don't change anything. You know.
Wait, guys, we should slow this down for a second because Rachel, I want to now because you are here. You're a guest.
Yes.
You're a guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing some
Okay,
hardcore
Professor Higgins. Jesus.
a guess. You're doing a Dan Carlin style. I'm gonna kill
But it's time to bring back everyone's favorite segment, Keanu Chronicles.
Yes.
Rachel, tell us when you first encountered Keanu Reeves.
All right. So, as a young person growing up in the household with one Deborah May Schenk, I was.
That's your mom?
That's my mother, Mama Schenk.
Ignore them.
It's fine. I don't listen.
Mama Shank just sounds like the baddest woman in the prison ward.
And she literally is. She rules.
awesome.
She watched a lot of movies, a lot of good movies, a lot of bad movies, just like a lot of movies. Like that was just like the jam. Like she'd go to the video store and like rent stuff and like we'd watch it. And the first movie that ever featured Keanu Reeves was one that she loved. It was about a bus that went real fast.
Oh yeah.
So
excited
So-
You mean a bus that couldn't slow down?
That bus that just was so
The bus
fast.
that would not be able
Oh,
to go
the famous
slow.
That bus
1995 movie
that just,
Stop
like,
Bus.
I can't.
That could not slow down. It could not stop.
Yeah.
That bus just keeps going and it jumps things. So I first saw Speed. And that was the... And I...
Which we'll get to soon.
Yeah.
It's got to be up there for. Not a lot of our guests have actually said Speed per
Yeah.
se, but like
It's
that's
usually
gotta,
it's usually Bill and Ted
Or The Matrix.
Or The Matrix,
yeah,
yeah.
but like my mom didn't like... I'm going to paraphrase and say dumb comedies, which I do not think Bill and Ted is a dumb
fine.
comedy. But I get it. Like my mom's like pushing 70 at this point, and
Yeah.
so like
It's easy to
this-
have that opinion about
Also,
that.
again, a
Exactly.
lot of people dismissed those movies as dumb comedies.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
celebrated like a rejection of education and
Yes.
not knowing things.
But also,
which is wrong.
an assault on education. Bill
But
and Ted.
also, like my mom likes horror and action movies. So
Yeah, good on her.
Whereas
So
she has
Keanu
she
is-
has never watched Bill and Ted. She has literally watched the movie Bats multiple times. And I dare any of you to look up Bats the movie and realize that I have partaken in parts of that movie so many times in my youth.
I mean,
Bats?
you
I
two
looked
feel
it
like
up, yeah.
you would know bats.
Dangerous Bats.
No, we like slugs.
Attack a
Have you
small
seen
count.
Slugs?
No, I haven't.
Tell your
So,
mom to watch Slugs.
I'm sure she'd
She
love
would
it.
love it. It's about slugs that like eat you.
Yeah, gore, action, violence, whatever, explosions.
Wait, tell us about bats.
Yeah.
It's okay.
A little
so
more about bats.
Bats
Yeah.
attack.
Welcome.
a
This is a
town.
podcast about bats.
That's all I remember of it.
Oh.
It's just, and it was really bad, and the bats were terrible looking.
The 1999 film.
And she watched it a lot. Yes.
That's a bad year for something like that.
Hey, you know what movie is good and has bats? Bram Stoker's Dracula. It also has
Batman. I thought you
Keanu.
were Dark
Say
Knight.
Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but also like Keanu.
Oh, yo,
Oh,
you know what
sorry.
else is really good that we saw on Sci-Fi Original? I think it was Ticks.
Ticks was
Oh,
good.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure my mom would eat that up. Sci-fi originals? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Wait, okay. Let's back
Rats.
up. Let's bring it back to our dude.
Speed.
Yeah.
So Speed was your introduction, and how do
Yes.
you feel about Mr. Reeves?
I have had a long and complicated relationship with one Mr. Keanu Reeves.
Perfect.
Where I appreciated him in action roles. I was also a party to the opinion that maybe he wasn't the most interesting of actors. You know,
I think we were all guilty of that at one point.
It's true, but
Not me. Never.
Yeah.
I stood by him from day
Ride or
one.
die.
Yeah.
But no, that was honest. That we'll get into this because this movie, I think, is a significant. This movie plays a significant role in the development of Keanu's reputation as a quote unquote bad actor.
Yeah.
Well, also Don John's a hard part.
No. I don't think it's about the movie itself.
But it is a hard part.
I will,
Trust me.
I will get into that. But
He's
again,
a little scamp in this one.
but
is.
so
No,
so
he's
you
a little
Naughty
baby.
boy.
But yeah, so it always seemed to me that he was not making bold choices. In my estimation of watching it and growing up as a young actor, just like you'd see actors that were like chewing the scenery and you're like, well, at least you're making a choice. But I think that there's something very understated about a lot of what Keanu is doing. And there was a really interesting dissection of the ideal action hero is one who is not particularly like choicey or like flashy, because then they are your avatar into the world. And I think that is perfectly Keanu for a world like John Wick, for The Matrix, and for
47 Ronin.
Yeah,
Hell yeah, dude.
You know, and I think there's a great virtue in that understatedness now.
Right.
But back then, watching Keanu movies, I was like, oh, well, okay, I can do it better.
It's but what's funky about like Much Ado and that reputation working elsewhere is that, like, again, I have my own qualms with this, and you know, Branagh, even though he is like the preeminent at the time like Shakespeare guy,
I think still, because like,
when's the last time he's done a like adaptation?
but
Guys,
in comparison to,
I'm going to talk about Kenneth Branagh's Shakespeare career because it's still going to this day.
Okay, so never
Really?
mind.
Yeah.
All I was trying to get at was that, like, I agree that, yeah, like the action star thing it lends itself more to like this kind of like you said, avatar character.
Mm-hmm.
A cipher of a main character.
exactly, someone that you can get into,
Right.
you know,
Live in their
you can
skin.
you can live there because they're not really anything so different from you.
Yeah.
Like the horoscope, you know, like while it is kind of silly and garbage,
Right.
you can kind of get into it and
Yeah.
go, I can sort of like relate my life through this weird thing.
I love
Yeah.
that you just compared Keanu Reeves to a horoscope.
I think you were
It's
the
great,
first
but
person to
there's-
ever do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a Keanu for all seasons. So
Yeah,
there is.
Are you like a Saturnine Don John?
Yeah.
Keanu.
Yeah.
Are you? Yeah.
Are you a cold-blooded killer with a heart of gold, like Scorpio Keanu?
Wait,
are you
this
are
is
you
actually-
a sunny, bubbly Keanu? I'm gonna say like a Leo, but that's just because I want to be like Bill and Ted because I love it.
Leo?
You know, you want to be like a star. You know, you
Actually,
want to
I think
you want to be literally the most important person in history. Leo, Bill and Ted. Leo.
What is
Well, so I think I haven't.
That's all I've got,
I haven't had a
though.
chance to read it yet.
no
but
Pisces? Because that's what I am.
a Pisces?
What Keanu am I?
I don't know.
No, guys,
Tell me
please stop. I think there is actually
I'm sure there's a BuzzFeed article.
there's there's
all about it.
I haven't
You
had
get Generation
I'm trying to fucking talk.
Sorry.
Because I'm about to address what you're talking about. I think that is actually a section in the recently published book about Keanu Reeves that I picked up at New York Comic Con.
Oh, Jesus.
The one for your consideration, Keanu Reeves, by Larissa Zagaris and Kitty Curran.
Okay.
I was flipping through it and it looks great. I have a copy at home. I will all read it and talk about it on the show at some point. But there does seem to be a section about all the different types of Keanu and like figuring out like which one you are. And because he has, for a guy who has been so often given the label of like a wooden actor or someone with no range who always does the same kind of thing, he has played a very wide range of roles. And so, Rachel, I want to ask you, did your opinion on Keanu as a limited actor, let's say, evolve over time?
Oh, absolutely. For sure. I think it really started to change, honestly, with the John Wick franchise.
Which you only saw
Recently,
in May
yeah.
because we ran into each other at a screening of John Wick 3.
But I also feel like I wasn't encountering Keanu a lot in other things. I can't think of something that I've watched between like John Wick and like The Matrix that he was in.
That's because he
Something's
did sort
got
of
to give.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Well,
Ooh.
Keanu did kind of dip away a little bit. I mean,
He did.
The John Wick is the next cycle,
Yeah.
as we've been describing it on this podcast. So, like, between The Matrix and John Wick, I mean, you have a lot of movies. Obviously, the guy continued to act, but they're much smaller movies, and people were kind of not paying
A
him
lot
much
more supporting
mind.
roles.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it. And
Yeah.
some of the more high profile or like more expensive movies ended up underperforming or like people weren't really into them. Stuff like The Day the Earth Stood Still or 47 Ronin.
Yeah, he plays Klaatu in that. No, not Klaatu, but whatever.
Oh, I think
He's an
I did.
alien.
Uatu the Watcher.
Yeah, you're right.
main
Watto.
alien.
No.
He plays
The guy.
Watto.
Yeah, Watto.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my god. I would
Please don't play Watto.
I would kill to see Keanu as
Yeah.
Watto. But is it Klaatu?
I think, well, there's
Klaatu,
the
Verona,
robot, and then there's
Nixo?
like the
That
alien.
sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Well, no. Gort is the big one, right?
So he's Klaatu
Yeah.
then.
And
Gort
he's
is the alien,
he's
big
Klaatu.
guy.
Gort and Klaatu.
We'll get to it. A Scott Derrickson film. But yeah, no, Rachel, you're right. It is this weird area where like Again, he's in movies consistently, but I would say that most people haven't seen the majority of them.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of did this movie do well? Much Ado.
Much Ado?
Was it
Yeah.
like popular?
I believe Much Ado is still by
Oh,
like
he
with
was in the Neon Demon.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's very recent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
like
did see that.
2014.
I believe Much Ado, adjusting for inflation as always,
Sure,
is
yeah.
still to this day the
I saw
highest
Scanner
grossing
Darkly.
Shakespeare adaptation
I know what changed
Ever?
my mind about Keanu.
theatrically released. Yeah.
Constantine.
Constantine.
There it is.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
seen
yeah.
that. I
Because
gotta
I
watch
loved it. I thought it was so fun. I thought it was like such a good romp, and I was like, no, I like this Keanu person.
Hey, this guy, he's
Wait
not
a
so
second.
bad.
Hold on a second.
I like him.
This
I
guy's
haven't-
So I
alright.
had to look at his IMDb because I know
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Keanu movies. It's just I didn't remember.
That
Yeah.
is
Because I don't remember anything.
Yeah, Constantine.
common, though.
That's in the one cycle, because that's
Yeah.
a 2005 film.
Jesus.
No,
we
Rachel,
will
are you
make this
aware?
a thing.
Are you aware of the cycles of Keanu?
No,
Do you
but
wanna-
I do want to make a Keanu horoscope now.
Well, do you want to know
so-
about the cycles of Keanu?
Yes,
There's three.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
So you got one,
Well,
the Bill and Ted.
Well, no. Here's the
Okay.
thing. Here's the thing.
Okay, explain me, Daddy.
The thing about the cycles. Again, we are Keanu Reeves
No
scholars.
riffs for Rachel.
Look, I'm just trying to explain this really scientific system that we've developed because we are
Of
experts
art.
on this topic.
Pat's a scientist.
So each cycle is defined by his iconic role that he played multiple times in that period of his career.
Okay.
So the first cycle is the Ted cycle, where Ted is the definitive role of the early part of his career.
I'm hearing violins as you talk about this, so.
Of course.
Okay, cool. So we have
I'll
violins?
add some afterwards. No, I won't. I'm too lazy to do that. The second cycle, defined by his role as Neo, is the one cycle.
Definitely like some like tombos, like big drums.
Exactly.
Got that
And
going.
then, most recently, he is currently in the Wick cycle.
Yes.
In which John Wick is the defining role of this period of his career.
Here in a brass section.
Yeah.
That's it.
Ted won Wick. Now you have the holy trinity of cycles for Keanu Reeves.
I
Thank
thought
you,
the Holy
Professor
Trinity
Pat.
was Trinity in the Matrix.
Whoa.
Well, the Holy Trinity is
That is
My
also
Little
technically
Pony.
correct. Yes.
something else and something else.
but that's building deeper into the lore of the Matrix.
Ooh.
We're
And
expanding
hey,
out into
guys,
the.
guys, I'm still so excited that they're coming back for Matrix 4.
I
I'm
know.
so excited.
They're talking about
gonna be
Constantine
good.
as well, aren't they?
Really?
No.
Aren't there rumbles about
No,
Constantine?
I doubt that. After
what
the
an
flop of the
idiot.
television series,
Yeah, no.
I think Constantine's in the ground.
They'll
for a
do
while.
something else with John Constantine as a character, but
Yeah.
they're not
Okay.
bringing Keanu back. To
Yeah, they'll
reprise that.
recast somebody else.
No,
Yeah, they
al-
already did.
They already made a TV show.
Yeah, they had
Oh.
a CW series of
No,
Constantine.
it was actually on
Oh.
NBC.
Was
I just
it
know Jane the
really?
Virgin.
Yeah.
That's the only show I watch on the CW.
Okay, zero relation to our.
I'm just saying what I know.
CW,
Yeah.
so not zero.
Yeah.
Jake.
I'm talking CW shows.
No, we're not. We're
No, Rich just mentioned the CW.
And I said
I
Constantine was
know.
actually an NBC show.
But I thought
sorry.
it was because of the
Neo,
the
Bill,
CW
Constantine.
He did
DVD.
cross over, I believe, onto Legends of Tomorrow, which
Yeah.
is a CW show.
Yeah.
Same
also,
actor.
I really liked that Constantine. Very good Constantine.
Yeah.
Never actually saw it.
Also, I had a big heart on for Supernatural at the time, so I was like trying
Who
to like
didn't?
feed that need.
No, I'm sorry. That's coming from Matt. That's just a funny thing to say.
I don't watch TV. Is that interesting to you?
No.
No.
yeah.
What are you better than people? Huh? Get
Yes.
out of here. What do you
Well,
do
yeah.
with your free
He
time?
doesn't
Reed?
even own a
Listen,
TV.
If
Yeah.
if not watching TV is interesting, then I would like to claim that I am interesting because I do not watch a lot of movies.
Ah,
Wow.
interesting.
But you
I
watched
don't do
this
anything.
movie
Is that
because
interesting?
today we're talking about Much Ado About Nothing.
We
welcome,
are, and I'm
welcome
so
to our
excited.
show. We're
Welcome.
38 minutes into the episode.
Jesus.
This is how the show always goes.
Oh, I love it. Wait, should
Nothing
I
new.
should I talk about my kindred acting link with Keanu, or do we want to say?
Yeah. I
Well,
wanna
yes,
hear
yes,
that.
because there is one more important question that I want to
Yeah.
ask you, Rachel.
Oh, good.
Why did you want to come on this episode? Why Much Ado About Nothing?
Oh, because I played Don John in college.
Whoa! The
Really?
big fucking reveal.
I did. So it's kind of convoluted how I got to play the role of Don John in college.
Did you audition and then someone cast you?
No. Well,
What a
I
labyrinthian
mean, I
story.
auditioned for the show. So the college I went to did a fall series of plays in what was called rotating repertory, and it was linked with Actors Equity. So we cast like 3 or 4 equity actors to fill roles in 2 productions that would play at the same time. And
What is I don't know what an equity actor is.
a union actor. So anyone who's on Broadway is an equity actor. Anybody who's like, you have to join the actors union to be an actor in places like Broadway or some like regional theaters that are connected with the
It's like the stage version of the Screen Actors Guild, kind of.
Exactly. Except you have to earn a certain number of weeks to join equity. So part of the program was we would get weeks and points for these shows, and we always did 2 at one time. One directed by our department chair and one directed by the other director of the university. So we were doing in rotating rep Waiting for Lefty by Odette's and Much Ado by Shakespeare. And I think with one exception of a season, I was always cast in 2 of them. So I was playing one role or the other.
Yeah.
But what had happened was I got cast as a smaller role.
Oh man, the criminals are afoot. You know, it's probably that Joker that I've heard so much about in the news these days.
Yeah, that man dancing on stairwells and causing havoc and
Is that the
ruckuses.
Joker?
Huh?
Is that the Joker?
No, I was saying, come here, Batman.
Oh, you want him to come?
Save
I
us.
thought
I want
you were
Batman to
being
come.
Joker.
Batman.
No,
Yeah.
come here. No, I love that. Listen, if that's my Joker, I'll take it. Come here, Batman.
Hey,
You know what?
there.
Batman, come here. I'm gonna get you.
I'm the Joker, baby.
I'm gonna shoot a fake gun at you that's gonna go bang. I'm the Joker.
That's cool, like a southerny kind of. I don't
Yeah.
even know what that is.
Dude,
Kind
and
of
it's
Joker.
the Joker like he's reloading the gun.
Almost the old man from like Family Guy, almost, but
Right.
like me as a girl. But yeah, so
That could be a radical new spin.
So
But the question is, how twisted is that?
It's pretty twisted.
Okay.
But so, okay, I just gotta get through this because I've been thinking about it
Oh, yeah.
all day, and I just have
Pat,
to.
you're
I just need
experiencing
the,
what Pat feels all the time,
the
which
world
is us.
to know. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I love watching someone go through what I usually go through.
It's okay. I'm a woman. I'm used to being interrupted, so it's
No.
fine.
Ooh.
By the way, feel free to
Now
scream
it
"Shut the
feels
fuck
violent.
up, Torpies" whenever you want.
Okay,
Yeah,
don't
that's
worry. So anyway, our director cast himself as Don John for Much Ado, and I was cast as Ursula, one of the handmaids of Hero, because I had a much bigger role in Waiting for Lefty. But he needed somebody to be his sort of avatar while directing and blocking. So he was like, "Hey, Schenk," which was what everyone called me in college. Because obviously, why not? Not Rachel. I forgot my name was Rachel for a while. Because everyone just called me Schenk. And he was like, "Schenk, and will you stand in for me while I direct Much Ado? And I'll do Don John." And I was like, "Absolutely, no worries," because Ursula's such a small part. But time went on, and he never took on the role of actually like running Don John himself. And it just sort of morphed into, well, let's just make Schenk Don John because she pretty much has it memorized
Yeah,
and
she's
has
the
done
only
all
one
the
practicing.
blocking for it.
You got played, dude.
I did, but I didn't though because I got to play a boy.
Don John got played
Don
by
John
Rachel.
by me. Ooh, haha. And so the director ended up playing Dogberry instead.
That's a good part.
Yeah, he was not great at it. He was no Michael Keaton, to be sure.
Who is?
And so
That was his name
it
the whole
was
time? Dogberry?
Dogberry.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
never really picked up on it.
That's
Bro,
very
you gotta
funny.
watch it on Amazon with Amazon X-Ray, because then when you pause it, it tells you what cast members playing what characters are in what scene.
Or
Yeah.
you could like read the No Fear Shakespeare.
Yeah.
and then-
I watched it
Yeah,
on
it's fine.
Vubi or something
Yeah.
for free.
Or just spend all day on the IMDb app like I do.
Yeah. So
I have a fun life.
So I got to play this like this man's part, and I did it pantaloon. So like it was decided and recognized that I was a man in this world playing a man, and that was really fun because I was like this really girly girl named Flory in the other one, and then I got to be Don John in this one.
That's
and
great.
I loved it. It was super fun, and it I mean honestly, it's kind of a difficult role because it's not. I don't want to say that Shakespeare isn't well written, but there definitely is this idea that Shakespeare was like, well, I mean, I guess there's got to be a villain in this one. So I'm just going to make him this real, like, saturnine, like, grumpy dude who just wants to, like, be shitty. And that's it. He's just a plain dealing villain. And, like, that's fine.
Right, because that's all
Whatever.
his motivation is, right?
Yeah, like,
he's
sour.
he's the bastard son
Yeah.
of, in this film, Denzel Washington, but
Yeah.
like
No, he's the bastard brother.
He's the
bastard
ba-
brother.
He's the half brother of Denzel
Half-brother,
Washington.
yeah.
and he's just pissed.
But he's just mad because he's like, everything sucks. I'm mad about it, and you're telling me to pretend to be happy, and I hate it. I brought the scene. I brought the Don John scene.
This is great.
Didn't he get
She
passed over
unrolls
for
a sheath of paper.
It's very.
Am I misremembering him getting passed over for like a military post or something as like the other issue?
That wasn't a thing. He did an uprising against his brother.
There is no real clear like motivating factor.
No.
It's almost
he's
so
just
unimportant.
bad.
He's just
shitty.
bad.
He's just shitty.
like, his
Even
whole-
more so than Iago.
Yeah.
It's just he's just a guy who's just like
Well, at least like Iago's got more to say.
he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don John tells you he
Don
doesn't
John
have much
is
to say.
just says,
Iago-
I am a plain dealing villain, and I love the line.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a canker in his hedge. A canker in a hedge than a rose in his grace. And it's just like, that's all he
Damn.
wants. That's
Yeah.
it. Like, he just, like,
He's a
does
troll.
not care. Like,
Yeah.
he's just mad. And I love so much the entire grumpy cat face that Keanu makes through this entire piece.
He is
Because,
scowling.
frankly, I also did a lot of grumpy cat face when I portrayed this. And it was really funny because my Conrad and my Baraccio were like 2 heads taller than me, like really tall, big, burly dudes. And I got to step on one of their necks and it ruled.
That's
nice,
awesome.
dude.
Yeah. I got to like beat the shit out of big boys.
You get to
I
like knock
loved
him
this
over in a
part.
scene.
So of course
I did, and I got to step on his neck and like jump on a bench, and I was like, "This is the most badass I'll ever be."
So you had to come on this episode because this is the only Keanu character that you have also played.
Yes, and it probably will only ever be the one I will play ever.
Yeah.
In
a
Well,
way,
you might
kill
be the motel owner
You've
for Neon
lived
Demon.
in his body.
We don't
in a
know.
way.
The theater
I-
production.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I. What's really funny though is I did avoid watching Much Ado while I was in production because I didn't want to steal anything or like be influenced by anything. I wanted to like play my own actions
course.
and like choose my own path.
But
But
having-
also,
Oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead.
No, do you find yourself now? Do you see similarities or like wild
He did
differences?
it so much better than I did. I was
Keanu.
so.
Well, I was going to ask. Okay,
petulant.
now the big question because
I like a petulant better.
Oh boy, I was just like, let me be as I am and seek not to alter me. And I just like hit that knot really
Yeah.
hard and I pushed
Nice,
the guy.
dude.
Like I
Stage.
was just so mad, so aggro. Like, and I also had to make my own mask for the masquerade because I work as hard as Keanu.
Yeah.
But just a lot of different places.
Okay.
Mine was a scorpion mask.
Ooh.
No, it was a
Ooh.
crab mask. I lied because we did all the
Not
signs of
as
the
dope.
zodiac. Bringing it all together.
Yeah.
Zodiac.
Yeah.
That moment in this movie
Saturnine.
when he has the big red like beak-like mask and he
Very
takes it off and
good.
reveals just Keanu's scowling face underneath. I
Yeah.
applauded in my living room, just sitting there
good.
watching it.
Bravo.
The
good
part
sir.
that made me want to applaud was that random moment where they just like blocked him into the scene and he walks past Hero and he just like kisses her hand and I was like,
Yes.
ugh, this is very good.
Okay, so now,
This movie's very good and I love it.
for our uncultured listeners
Yeah,
who
you
aren't familiar
Philistine.
with Shakespeare, let me read the first paragraph of the Wikipedia plot summary for
Christopher
this, like, I don't know, 400-year-old play that you've had 400 years to read. I've never actually read it.
Yeah,
the
you had-
man died in 1616. Get it together, fool.
Yeah.
You had
so-
400 years to watch this movie.
Okay, so here it is. Having just crushed an uprising by his half-brother, Don John,
The best.
Don Pedro of Aragon and his noblemen visit their friend Leonato
In
in
Messina.
Messina. Accompanying Don Pedro is the witty Benedict, not Benedict.
No, it's definitely
Nope,
Benedict.
Benedict.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
also I was the understudy for Beatrice, and that was fucking hard.
Whoa,
Yeah.
okay, that's a lot. Okay, so by the way,
I
Don
was
John,
a real workhorse.
Don John is Keanu. Don Pedro is Denzel.
Our man Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
There is a photo on Reddit of the two of them just like standing in their costumes
With their leather pants.
with their beautiful leather pants and their
Yeah.
swords, and I saved it to my computer.
They are
It's-
peak studs in this movie. They're both beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Yikes,
and
yes.
we will talk all about their physical appearances soon.
Yeah.
But
Are
anyway,
we going to talk about the movie, or are we just going to talk about Keanu because there's so many things that I want to say about the movie?
we go through the whole story of the movie.
Okay, good, because I have a lot.
Okay, so so they're visiting
Perfect.
Leonardo
I
and
love
Messina.
this
Accompanying
movie.
Don Pedro is the witty Benedict, who is
Benedict.
played by
Kenneth
Kenneth Branagh.
Ken.
Former lover of Leonardo's equally sharp-tongued niece, Beatrice, played by Emma Thompson, who was married to Kenneth Branagh at the time, and
Yep.
I believe they met while making
They got
Henry
married
V.
in '89.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so funny because I was literally thinking there's no chemistry between these two.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't feel that at all.
I felt
think,
it
I think
deep
that's
in
that is a wild
my,
take.
my gut loins.
Although they were on the cusp of getting divorced or splitting
Nice,
up.
dude.
yeah,
Wow,
way
damn.
down
Yes.
there. The gut
Non-amicably,
loins.
Yeah.
even around the time that this is
Right.
being filmed.
Okay, wait,
this is sort of like
let me
the
keep
end.
Wait, they
reading.
weren't cool with each other by this point?
When I was looking up like the timeline of Kenneth Branagh's movies, and then obviously Wikipedia has a little personal life section, of course.
They got
That, like,
divorced in
basically-
95.
Yeah.
Yeah, they divorced in 95, but they were separated for a chunk of time even before that. While he was filming Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I hate that I know all this gossipy shit, but
It's okay, I
was
know it
when he
too.
got together with Helena Bonham Carter, who he then
Weird.
fell in love with. But him and Emma Thompson were both like not on the best speaking terms. This movie was probably shot in 92, so it was like towards the end, maybe they were still in each other's good graces, because I would have to assume they wouldn't shoot a movie where they play love interests if like those death knolls were already ringing, you know? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
I
kind
mean,
of stuff.
maybe it was a good way to work out some of that aggression
Yeah.
because Lord knows she just like lays into him and he lays into her.
They're just roasting each other
They,
constantly.
they lash
Whole
at
time,
each other
whole
with
time.
barbed
Oh,
Okay,
tails.
so
I
he's a
love
station,
it.
Patrick.
This very
let me
merry
just
war.
finish this all little
Yeah.
summary.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So also present are Benedict's friend Claudio, played by, I believe it's Robert Sean Leonard.
Yes.
Yes. A young count, and Don John, who, despite his rebellion, has apparently reconciled with his brother. Claudio has been thinking of Leonardo's beautiful daughter Hero, played by Kate Beckinsale in her first feature film role.
Baby Beckinsale.
Baby Beckinsale, who I think was like 19 at the
She
time.
was still in school in Oxford.
Yeah. Hero, since before he went to war, and returns to find her as attractive as ever. Don Pedro.
Well, hey,
Hot
when
as the
he,
day
when
I
he
left.
for war,
Hey,
he looked at her with a soldier's eye, and now that he's back, all that war stuff is out of his head. He's got room to think about boning down. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like, oh, my
Nothing like
aggression
almost
out.
dying to make you so horny.
Yeah,
Kill a bunch of
exactly.
people.
Not even a
What's
joke.
left?
Yeah.
He wants to
Horny.
marry her tomorrow. Leonardo's like, no, Monday.
Let me just
You
finish reading this.
hornball. Oh, I love
So
this movie.
Don Pedro, learning of his friend's feelings, decides to act on his behalf and arranges the match at a party. An unrepentant Don John attempts to foil it, but unsuccessfully.
Nope.
The match is made. Needing something to pass the time until the wedding, Don Pedro decides to arrange a similar fate for Beatrice and Benedict, whose animosity for each other is clear. And that is that's like I don't know, the first like half hour or so
Yeah.
of the movie,
Yeah.
all summarized there. But basically, this movie begins, I think, in a really interesting way, because it begins with Emma Thompson's voiceover and just text.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the song
Over
from the
a black
Beast, I Know
screen.
More.
Yeah. And again, I
And
think
it's beautiful. It's like a lullaby. I could sleep to that.
Ooh, and I sing, hey, nonny, 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 hey, whatever she says.
Hey.
Hey,
And then she like
nonny.
drops it to a
You're-
whisper where she's like, hey.
Yeah, she's doing four non-blondes.
I love it. I love every second of this.
Yeah, what's
of this
going
film.
on?
The
I also
Italian
really-
countryside looks fucking cozy.
shot in
Yeah.
Tuscany.
Yeah.
Tuscany.
It seems that they're just all chilling outside. This is like just a lovely picnic with buddies. Like they're all
Yeah.
laying in the
Right.
tall
They're all
grass.
sharing clothes. They're
Yeah.
all just like taking baths together.
Yeah.
It does seem like
I
making this
love
movie
it.
was like they all went on vacation together to a beautiful place and was like,
And then
let's
they
make
made a good movie. It's like Nega Sandler.
Yeah, Emma Thompson.
No, that's
I'm not wrong.
you're not wrong at all.
In fact, you're correct.
Yeah, it's like if Grown Ups was Shakespeare.
Wait. That's like the poll quote for the poster. If Grown Ups was Shakespeare,
Yeah.
Matt Torpey.
And people are like, what does that mean? And Kenneth Branagh's like, you'll see in
You'll see.
2008.
Also,
Right,
I will
you'll
say that Much Ado is my second favorite Shakespeare comedy after Twelfth Night.
Okay.
Which did Kenneth Branagh make a movie of that?
Which
No.
one, is 12th Night? Which one's the one where the scholars are trying to like be in isolation?
That's
and study?
my favorite one. Love's
And
Labor's Lost.
Love's Labor's Lost is the
Yeah.
better sex comedy subject, I would think, which is like
I like Twelfth Night because it has a cross-dressing woman falling in love with her master,
yeah.
Right.
and then being like, as I am a man, I can't, but as I'm
Yeah.
a woman, like I'm hot for him. What do I do?
That
Help
is-
me! Like that's the part I want to play more than any other part in the entire canon of Shakespeare.
really
That
Yeah.
character in
that
12th
seems
Night.
doable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I'm cute and boyish. in a girly way.
You got this shit. Yeah.
What's
you just need to
gender?
find like a production of it that's happening.
Well, I
and
did
slowly
set
infiltrate.
myself up to do a burlesque number of the Ring speech from 12th Night, and it ruled, and it was the best piece of theater I've ever made.
So you kind of did it.
I did it, but I want to do the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a very like just a technical question almost. What are the because I know this was still in application roughly when Shakespeare was writing. What is the definition of a comedy in that time period? Because I know it's like very different from what we would consider a comedy with like farting dogs and fucking.
Yeah, this is the super bad of the time, right?
Well, I think a comedy just kind of means like
There's a mistake
like
happening, right?
like
There's a happy
there's obviously a happy ending.
Right.
There is some sort of like mix up or convolution or confusion. Like
Joker's
some,
at it again.
Come at me, Batman. It's me, the Joker.
You still haven't got me.
I'm waiting for you right here at the top of Wayne Tower.
on the top of the stairs, just dancing on the stairs.
Oh my
I've
god!
made an entire dress
have-
out of a curtain. It's me, the Joker. I'll never go.
This is my favorite Joker.
This is my favorite Southern
Damn.
Belle Joker, and we're getting really into
Get
like
out of here, Jared Leto.
debutante Joker.
Well,
Yeah.
Did you read that article about how Jared Leto tried to get the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie stopped and was really mad about it? And
I mean,
felt-
man, did I not
felt
need another
rejected?
reason to find him slightly distasteful?
It-
but
it's,
sure.
it's so funny.
But who am I gonna send all these these condoms
I didn't
to?
jack off for 4 days straight for no reason. I do declare I am depleted.
I don't know nothing about birthing no babies, but I sure do know about sending mice to my co-stars. Sweet Joker.
Yeah, what a fucking idiot.
Terrible
Hey,
human.
do not say that to the brilliant songwriter of 30 Seconds to Mars. Thank you very much. Who put the soundtrack to the Guardians of Gahul together in a way that nobody could have ever possibly realized.
I think it was just in the trailer. I don't think he did the soundtrack.
I've never before been as breathtaking as I was when I saw an owl cut through rain in slow motion to 30 Seconds to Mars.
And who directed that film?
Oh, Zachy boy,
Branagh.
my
Oh.
Vero compatriot. Thank you. Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
Sorry.
My boy.
My question was simply, yeah, right. It's all that needed to happen in a comedy at that time, as opposed to a tragedy.
Everybody gets married. In a tragedy, everybody dies.
Everyone dies versus there's a happy ending, so that the mix-up or whatever is like
Gets resolved.
is resolved.
Yeah.
But they're because like you would watch this movie and it's like this you know the comedy and
Yeah.
it's like it just like you know at the time I feel like it was less reliant on laughter as opposed to like this kind of.
Yeah, I mean the idea of Much Ado deals a lot with this idea of courtier wit and being sharp tongued
The
and
ripostes.
yeah,
the
exactly.
bon
Like you
mots.
can sort of see this ideal of someone who is witty and charming
Yeah.
gets the upper hand, which is
Yeah.
why Benedict is so held high in the esteem of Don Pedro, of Leonardo. You know, why Beatrice kind of gets away with her pretty progressive ideas because she's painting them so well with her wit and her tongue, you
Yeah.
know.
And the
like she
tit-
says some really progressive shit. Like,
The title's about pussy, right?
huh?
The title's about pussy?
Much Ado About Nothing.
I think nothing was like a euphemism.
Well, technically,
Really?
For a
nothing
lack,
was probably spelled differently for Shakespeare's time. Like
Right.
this could be apocryphal, but like what cursory research I've done was actually not necessarily Much Ado About Nothing, but more Much Ado About Noting, which a lot of the characters do, where they're like listening in on each other
damn.
and like
Oh.
eavesdropping and like noting things. Like
Yeah, Matt, you're trying to drag this out into the dirt.
I am
Yeah.
always to the
listen,
gutter
I'll
with
take
me.
I'll take
Potty
it down
humor.
there, but first I'm just gonna let people know.
I
that
want to
I'm
know the truth.
Smart.
Thank
Okay.
God you're here. 'cause
And so
otherwise
because
You'd
like
be
a
like,
lot
"This
of the
is
characters
interesting."
note each other or listen in on each other, you know, like the entire trajectory of Beatrice and Benedict's life is based on them noting what others have said about their respective partner. You
Yeah.
know, there's a
Right.
lot about noting whether or not Hero is a maid or if she's a wanton or you know
Wonton, yeah.
Much
she's a
Ado About
wonton noodle. I just didn't want to say anything too mean because she's great.
So Much
And-
Ado, yeah.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I know. I was just gonna ask, like, if it's Much Ado About Noting, what is there any sort of reason for the genesis of then switching the word to nothing?
I'm not sure. I imagine it's probably just like
Jacques Lacan, probably.
yeah, and also like it is much ado about nothing. You know, like what everyone just wants to bone down. Like
Yeah.
big deal. Who cares? Like
Well-
the worst thing that the villain does in this one is just spread mean rumors.
Well,
Yeah.
So it's like a lot. It's like a big build up to nothing necessarily. Like,
And then he just kind of goes away.
also, fuck Claudio. Just like he's the worst. He gets lied to and gets mad about it.
Just
He
because
does
he's
overreact.
credulous.
Constantly. I hate
Just
it.
because he's a dupe, it doesn't matter.
Well, he
don't
does think she cheated on him, like right before the wedding.
Yeah, but then he also thinks that his liege lord has stolen his girl, and then he also thinks that like
he's a little
messy bitch in
overreactionary.
this
yeah,
one.
considering that he's so good at deception, you think he would just go, "Hey, maybe I should take a second look at this about this girl." That
But does
I
anyone
like."
ever do that
No,
in Shakespeare?
because it's a comedy, and
They
everything is fine in
They
the
see
end.
a thing, make an immediate, like
Yes,
very strong
everyone.
assumption about it, and commit to that decision really, really hard and how they will react.
I
to
mean,
it.
you can apply that same it doesn't work if you really think about it with the characters of Benedict or Beatrice because like they are the most averse to this whole idea, and the millisecond anyone very obviously is just like, it seems that Beatrice is sick in the heart with love, and he's like, oh, I promise that I will marry her.
Like I'm gonna put a baby.
I did like that. Like,
Yeah,
I
but
was only opposed to marriage until I wanted to have it. Like his.
Yeah.
That is what was like some of the funniest stuff.
All I
is,
need
like,
was somebody to tell me I'm hot.
I think in a lot of the interpretation of the piece, it is sort of insinuated because there is definitely a reference to like this quote unquote merry war between them, where like they're throwing barbs and japes and jabs and living this life.
Japes.
But also there's this beautiful heartfelt moment where Beatrice says plainly that she and Benedict used to go out, and like it hurt when he like duped her and dumped her for whatever reason. She's like, so no, I'm like done. I'm done with
Yeah.
this. So like they have a romantic history. Like this is
It's classic.
literally the quintessential rom-com. Like you
Yeah.
have two exes who just like cannot stand each other, but deeply they're in love and they still like feel the feels.
And they're just waiting for
and
one
everybody
sign,
knows
yeah.
it, and they're too proud to admit it. Like they're
Right.
just too proud to just go like, I still like you.
Yeah, I like that you said go out with each other because what's funny to me about this play is it's very high school. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
like the whole
sure.
plot and the way that people interact
I
with one each other and hide their true feelings and
Would
then have like
literally love to see this reinterpreted as a high school drama.
I feel like that's
wait,
why these movies
how-
always get adapted as high school
the thing is, like,
performances in
that-
the late 90s
well,
and early
yeah,
2000s.
that began
you know? Yeah.
the whole trend of
Yeah.
the modern teen-centric Shakespeare adaptations, and not just Shakespeare, but also like Jane Austen and stuff like that.
Right.
That began. I mean, like Clueless came out 2 years after this.
Yeah, 10 things I hate about you.
But
Exactly, like all of those things, and
Taming
okay,
of the Shrew.
10 things I hate about Shrew.
but and then
Shrew
and-
Barrymore. So I'm so sorry.
Sure,
I
it
can't. I have
rhymes.
Tourette's. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
it
Keanu
rhymes.
sleeves. He has sleeve tattoos. I don't know what to say.
I apologize for Matt Torpey. And of course, then in 2001, we get the film O, starring
Yeah.
our boy Josh.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to say,
Not a comedy.
not a comedy,
No.
but
Well,
but
it's a tragedy.
Some would say not a comedy.
because
Yikes.
I've been dying to say this to somebody all day because I watched this movie this morning. In the amazing opening title sequence, when
yes.
when of course like Don Pedro and Don John and Claudio and all these people are all and Ben Benedict are all like on their horses riding in slow motion as the titles appear,
Yes.
and you get the close-ups of all like the soldiers.
Yes.
When we see Claudio. Was it Robert Sean
Leonard?
Leonard?
Yeah.
Looks so much like Josh Hartnett in that shot because he has the same squinty eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And for a second, I like did a double take. I was like, Josh?
You're in the weeds with Josh Hartnett.
We
you
have
imagine if
watched
we just
everything
forgot?
he's
He
ever
haunts
been
our
in.
dreams.
Yeah.
But and every so often there would be like an angle where he would just look like Josh, and it would throw me off every time.
Yeah. Yeah, he does have a lot of like similar. His countenance is very very similar, but
He's a similar actor to Josh.
He's
I
a
don't think.
classic
No, I
like
wouldn't
bland
say so.
Hancy boy. You know,
Yeah,
like
but bland, but
Wait, is he the one who plays Conrad?
No, Claudio.
Claudio.
Oh,
The rash one.
Okay.
But he has this sort of like squinty Josh eyes.
it's
Yeah.
the eyebrows.
Exactly.
Eyebrows, kind of the general hair.
That very like surfer dude kind of look, but
Yeah.
like weirdly handsome.
It was
and
just-
you're just like you're handsome
It was
because
just surreal.
society thinks it.
Right. It
You're
was
handsome by definition.
It was surreal to cut from Keanu, our dude, to a
Yeah.
guy who looks like Josh, our boy. Just like one to the other.
Can I say though that this is one of my favorite Keanu looks?
Okay.
He looks the facial
He's-
hair.
It's Wick.
It's Wick.
He's got the Wick beard.
and it's John Wick. Okay,
Folks.
folks.
Guys, here's the thing.
John Wick.
I love it so much.
Okay, if anyone wants to draw fan art of Don John Wick, please do send it to us.
Shirtless, please. Thank you, and please send it to
Fully nude.
to the PO box.
And fully erect.
Attention to me, Rachel, because I need this.
Okay. Because, guys, here's the thing. And I know I'm saying this as a heterosexual male, but
Yes. Go on.
I think this is the hottest Keanu has been in
He's-
any of the movies
I
we've
agree.
watched so
No,
far.
I agree.
Oily,
So far, yeah.
He's shirtless. He's mad. He's
glistening.
emotionally distant.
Well, he got
he's
it-
saying, "Let me be as I am, and seek not to alter me." And I'm like, "Yes, baby, I would never alter you.
I'm not trying to fix
perfection.
you. I'm just trying to
I just
fuck
want
you.
to love you
Yeah.
with my body."
Yeah, he's more of an adult. Like, he got a
Yeah.
haircut. He has facial hair. He's dressed in, like, formal attire.
Yeah.
It works,
Those-
man.
But it's buttoned deeply. It's a
Like
deep V. That's
that
unbuttoned.
double-breasted.
Well, but sometimes buttoned, like, up to the neck.
Yeah.
Also leather
Yeah.
pants.
Tight
Constantly,
leather
wearing
pants.
a sword.
constantly
Yes.
scowling. Sword.
So mad.
Yeah, because
so mad.
again, we have watched all of Keanu's
Oh my
movies up to here.
goth emo.
And he's
Jesus.
usually smiling and
Yeah.
bouncing into scenes and being some kind of like he's usually a young person.
Yes.
Yeah.
In almost everything. Even, stuff like My Own Private Idaho, he's like 20 years old.
Yeah.
And he's still like painted
He's
as
still playing that. Even
as an
He's-
immature young person. And here he's a man.
He's slithering. He's sulking. He's
More S words. Come on.
He's
He's a Slytherin.
he's
salacious.
He's shadowing in the
Yeah.
background.
Okay, we'll say no,
he's
no
scheming. He's
Shining because
shining
he's covered in like
covered in
oil.
oil.
Yeah.
Getting a
After
massage.
Conrad
John
is
Slick.
giving him a like cheese.
what is that? Right? I mean,
Oh,
in the
he
play.
gets up. He gets up when he says, "What? Where does he say it?"
Oh, give
No,
us
that's
some
where he grabs the
Shakespearean
face.
dialect, please, Rachel.
Like when
Oh,
he's getting
geez,
rubbed
that
down by
moment.
one of his henchmen, like that henchman has a huge.
He gets up and he says, "And when I have heard it, what blessing brings it?" He's just like so mad, and it's like
Yeah.
this manservant's like, "Well, just like pretend to be happy." And he's like, "No, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. If I'm
Yeah.
sleepy, I'm gonna fucking sleep.
Yeah.
If I'm mad, then I'm mad. And if I'm happy, then like I'm happy.
And his
But
servant-
now
Okay.
I'm not."
Yeah. His
He took
servant's
a
like,
DNA test and he's 100% that bitch.
He is 100% that bitch. Even when he's oily crazy.
oh,
Okay,
oily
that-
crazy
that-
is the
that
worst kind of
manservant
crazy,
has
too.
a crush on him, right?
Yeah, he's like,
I
dude,
love
you look
this
kind of tense in
scene.
the upper back area.
He's
Let me just
coded
give you-
as
let
a
me
gay
just work it
character,
down a
right?
little
Like
bit.
he's like
Who
just
is servant?
secretly like in love. The other, not the one who like has sex with Margaret as the part of the trap, but like
Braccio.
Hero, you mean?
no,
Margaret.
Margaret.
The one that-
sorry,
Braccio
yeah,
yeah,
has
pretend
sex
is
with
hero.
Pretends to be
Margaret
hero, yeah.
in Hero's window, so everybody believes that Margaret is
that
Hero.
guy, that other guy is in love with him.
Yeah.
Is how I
Also,
read that whole thing.
Imelda Staunton in this, so funny, and I was just like, Harry Potter. She like powders her breasts, and I'm just like, how dare you?
Imelda
dare you?
Staunton, yeah.
So many
Okay.
future Harry Potter people.
Oh, why? Yes. Well,
So
at least 3.
many.
yeah.
I mean, are they English? They're a future Harry Potter.
You
Yeah.
better believe it.
Are you an actor in England? You're in Harry Potter.
You're
Oh, I'm
against
sorry.
your will. You're in Harry
Against it.
Potter.
Yeah, At gunpoint, J.K. Rowling personally in the casting studio, get the fuck in my movie.
Well, actually, a funny thing. Okay, so
I'm
there's
the richest woman in the world.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a
I
lot
want to
of-
dissect this first scene that
there's
Keanu's in, like, so
there's a
bad
lot
I
of
brought the
conversations that I want to have here,
Yeah.
and I really want to talk all about Kenneth Branagh. I will say, just since we're mentioning Harry
Yeah.
Potter, he did, because he played Gilderoy Lockhart in
Yes.
the second movie.
Yeah.
He was very interested in directing the third movie, and then didn't get it because actually
Cuarón.
because J.K.
Tragedy.
Rowling of all people was like really like gunning for like Cuarón.
Yeah.
And
She was
but
running
yeah,
off
so-
that E tu mama tambien energy.
honestly, that was the right decision.
Yeah.
He elevated the series, but we'll stick with Keanu, even though we're jumping far ahead into the movie,
Yeah,
and we
I'm
will
sorry.
get more to the story because we got to talk all about the scene where everyone is naked at the beginning.
So much sideball, and I love it.
Yes.
And booty.
Okay, but like
Back ball, side boob.
That's a
Side boob.
We'll have this conversation in a sec
butt.
because I'm fascinated by this movie's rating.
No, there wasn't any front butt.
Just no front
I
butt.
just want to say
Jake.
a
No.
front thing. Sorry.
But about Keanu,
I wish there was.
this movie is the garnered him. I don't know. He got the first of his 7 Golden Raspberry Award nominations.
Really?
The,
Number
the
11.
Razzies for Worst Supporting Actor. He's never won one, but has been nominated 7 times. We're going to cover a
shame.
lot of these movies because, like, A Walk in the Clouds, Johnny Mnemonic.
No.
We haven't seen them yet.
I'm furious. I love Johnny Mnemonic.
I haven't
I
seen it.
hardly disagree with giving Keanu a golden raz.
No. I
For this
fully do
role,
too. I think he's good in this
He's
movie.
Me
so
too.
excellent.
Thank you.
There's not much that Don John gets to say in the original text, and they cut a literal lot of it from his most important piece. I put the cuts in this. I printed his first scene because it's like the only meaty scene.
Thank you for
that
doing
Don
more
John
work than
gets.
us.
And like they cut so much of it, albeit it's pretty like incomprehensible. Like he says something about, "I wonder that thou, being as thou sayest thou art, born under Saturn, goest about to apply moral medicine to a mortifying mischief." Like that's a lot of words.
Like
and,
Dr. Seuss Shakespeare. It sounds
Like
almost.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But
Theodore
like
Dreiser
you
Shakespeare.
you don't get a lot of text for Don John in this, and you
Yeah.
already don't have a lot to go off of with Don John, and you just have to recognize these beautiful moments that he's like living in and he's working through. The way he says the most exquisite Claudio, the way he says Claudio in that moment, you can taste his like vitriolic hatred towards this dude.
Yeah.
And all he has is the line, the most exquisite Claudio, which is by text like a nice thing to say. This person is
Yeah.
exquisite, but
Right.
he's playing with the language of it. The
Got some
most
stank on
exquisite,
it.
like it's so stanky, it's so
Yeah.
nasty, and like that's like after he thwarts the wedding, he doesn't really like Don John doesn't have any more lines. Like that's
Yeah.
it. Then
He's
like,
fucking gone,
He's
dude.
gone.
Yeah.
Like he runs.
There's
he
a part
runs away.
where he returns and then they drag him away.
Yeah, exactly. And we did that in my production. Like I came back into the space and didn't get to say anything, and like that was how they did that. Which is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Shakespeare. This like. We should have thwarted Don John before the wedding shit because it really puts this weird damper on the whole piece, especially after Benedict has just said, "Oh, Don Pedro, you're so sad that you're single. Get a wife, motherfucker."
Actually,
even though he made it possible for you to get a wife. I hate you,
If I may propose a rewrite for
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
For Shakespeare.
You
So,
can.
You listening, Will?
Yeah,
You
Will.
listening?
anyone with a time machine,
get your
go back
notepad
and
out.
I'm
tell Will
gonna
about this.
disturb your fucking bones.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, dude.
here's what I think should happen.
Okay.
The final wedding, the climactic wedding scene.
The double wedding.
Don
All
John
of Shakespeare.
shows up drunk
He's got a
and just
Preach.
starts a
gun.
fucking fight at the wedding. And then I'm thinking maybe like Beatrice just like knocks him out.
Yeah.
stabs him.
Well, no, that's a little intense.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No one should. No, this is not a tragedy. No one dies.
I'm sorry. Oh, well,
It's a
he's
comedy.
Not,
No, he should be
it's
like-
just a flesh wound.
No, it should be a thing where he's like getting up in Don Pedro's face,
Yeah.
and just like letting out all these like this pent up animosity he has toward him.
But that's a lot of character shit for Shakespeare.
Everyone
Right,
loves
true.
you.
I just look. There's nothing.
Had a lot of
like,
brandy.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
When someone interrupts a wedding,
Yes.
you know, when they're like, speak now or forever hold your peace, and then imagine like
But
Keanu.
it wasn't fun in this one because the person who interrupted the wedding was Claudio, and he was like, "You're a slut," and I hated
but
it.
okay, but this is the second wedding.
The
But-
second
but
wedding.
imagine Keanu shows up,
The
his
redo.
shirt unbuttoned down to like his belly button.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
And-
doing this to the movie. All right.
The movie, and then
Yeah, let's
he
fuck with
rolls
the
up
text.
and just like. It's just like throwing shit and just like they have like waiters and stuff like that bringing drinks around. He's just like grabbing like hors d'oeuvres off of them and like shoving
Yeah.
them in his mouth and like talking while eating. And then Emma Thompson just like just clocks him and knocks him out.
That'd be great.
That's my rewrite for Much Ado
Cool.
About Nothing. Thank you. You're welcome, Bill.
Anyway, so Don John doesn't have much to say after the wedding scene, the first one where Hero's reputation is destroyed, and by extension her life and the reputation of her family, because this is a thing. Thanks, misogyny and the patriarchy. There's nothing. Like there's nothing else. But Kenneth Branagh does this incredible moment where Keanu is just in a fucking dark hallway and is laughing.
It's so good.
It's running and laughing, and it's perfection.
Yeah.
Please press this to the pages of my heart forever, because as someone who played this role once, it was so beautiful for me. Like, and also it's
Did
a
you
beautiful...
get to do that
No, I
scene
didn't.
or
I
something?
didn't.
where
I
you get to-
disappeared.
It's not in the text.
It's not in the text.
It was so
Like,
Joker.
That's just
honestly.
a Branagh touch.
That's very Joker.
It
It's
was
super
very much a
Joker.
choice that was made by the team.
Is Keanu the next Joker?
I think
I
Iago was
hope
the
not.
Iago was the first Joker, probably.
I would
Yeah.
watch Keanu as Iago though.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be very
well,
good.
Josh
Iago?
played Iago
Did
in O, a bad movie.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Don't.
Sorry.
Josh wasn't bad in it.
It was just a bad movie.
It was just a bad movie.
Directed by Tim Blake Nelson.
I love all.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
we turned him
who's
into a
currently
horny
killing it on
toad.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, I mean the show rules so far.
Hold up. I want
I
to
watched
just.
the first episode.
I want to.
Second one's great.
I want to just talk a little bit more about Keanu and this horrible reputation that preceded him from having been just the year before in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I think he got that Razzie nomination because of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I
it's
feel like
unfair.
as soon as people saw that he was in another period piece, they were just gunning for him.
Yeah, they made an assumption based on the earlier film. And what's funny is that Keanu seems to have learned a lesson from Bram Stoker's. He's not doing an accent.
Well, everyone's
Ish.
just doing their regular accent.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
it's also really hard to not speak in a British accent when speaking the text of Shakespeare.
That's true.
It's very, very hard.
But yeah,
I mean, there is
even
like a-
though technically Shakespeare's accent, it doesn't sound anything like a modern British accent. Sorry, I'm a real nerd.
No.
So
we
like
want
even
that.
speaking in an American accent is still like apocryphal. Like
Right.
you speak the text in British, you speak it in modern English. Like it's
Yeah.
not how any of it would have sounded
But-
in Shakespeare's
right.
time.
But Keanu
and anyone
drops
can
the
correct me
accent.
if I'm wrong. But yeah,
Yeah.
like also Denzel is in this, and
Yeah,
he's
he's
doing
not-
he's doing Denzel
Also,
voice. He's
they're-
like Beatrice, you won't marry me, girl.
Also, Keanu and Denzel are brothers.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Exactly,
It's
but
Shakespeare.
so by
Yeah.
freeing himself up of doing that accent, he unlocks like that metal casing that he was wearing over his whole body when he was doing Bram Stoker's.
over 9,000.
He can finally just not have to stress about hitting every word with like a proper accent, and
Yeah.
instead he can just actually act the scenes, which he does. Like there's
Yeah.
no lack of emotion here. He's not like under emoting or feeling wooden in any scene.
And this is also Keanu's always been a really good
Yeah.
physical performer.
Yeah.
And he has almost nothing to do physically in Dracula.
Yeah.
And this movie, he has a lot. Again, he doesn't talk that much. A
Right.
lot of this
He's
is
a man of
physical.
few words.
Just the way he moves through scenes and just holds himself.
He
I like-
doesn't move. He slithers.
He slithers through
He is,
scenes,
yeah.
and like that scene, where he's getting the massage, the way he like sits up and everything.
The way he like pops, I wrote it in here. I wrote it in the text, and I was like rising. I was like, I'm gonna, and then he grabs his face.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great,
And
then again,
vascular too.
And he's
Yeah.
so excited about fucking shit up. Like
Yeah.
he's like, will this
he just
prove
hates
food?
everything.
He's just
Yeah.
like, I hate it.
So hold
I'm
on.
well, everybody's been really shitty to him because
Yeah.
he's base born. He's a bastard.
and they're all having a great time.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, we're gonna bone down. You're not invited. Beatrice gets close to inviting you with the idea of like, well, if like Don John and like Benedict like fused, I might be interested. But
That's
he
so
gets
funny.
boned like that entire piece where she's like,
Yeah.
Don John is like, I wish he like his like spirit energy was in like the form of Benedict, or like Benedict was like because they just fuse. I'm like, I'm with
Yeah.
you, girl. Like, can we just fuse both of them? It's fine.
Well, also it's
I'll
it's-
take it.
It's very
John's
it's
so
very
evil.
relatable.
Make a
be-
sandwich.
It's very relatable. Yeah, the Dragon Ball Z fusion earrings. But like because it's a conversation that still fucking happens, which is like, I wish that like My perfect guy is
He's like a
he's
combo.
like handsome but he like makes me laugh, but like he's not too handsome where it like makes it feels
He's
weird.
also rich, but he's not
Yeah.
a prince, even though like Don Pedro straight up proposes to Beatrice and she's like, you're too much. I'm sorry.
You're
Like,
so extra, Don Pedro. I can't.
I'm sorry. I'm not Meghan Markle. I cannot handle this.
Yo, they're having troubles.
They are having trouble.
Matt, didn't you say? Oh no, Jake was the one who said that he knew all the gossip stuff.
Yeah.
Look, the two Torpeys. I feel like people
Hot
don't talk about how you are
goss.
gossip hounds enough.
Yeah. Well, it just depends on what our access point is. We know some hot goss, but it's just like very, very specific.
A semen cutter.
people.
Hot
Yeah.
goss.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like what is the deal
Laugh
with
the steam off of that goss.
Konami and Hideo Kojima?
Yeah, dude. That's the kind of goss we're gonna dell out.
that goss.
Dell out for
a
sure.
Good
Yeah,
goss.
is a
Yeah.
word.
Steaming hot goss.
So, like the other thing I wanted to mention was just like the adaptations of Shakespeare, and
Yeah.
I think Pat, you got close to mentioning the Hamlet with Ethan Hawke.
I mean,
Hamlet with Ethan Hawke.
Modern day Hamlet,
Modern day Hamlet.
which I haven't seen since high school. I can barely remember.
New ham.
Shout out.
Talking new ham. I was not expecting that to make anybody
I don't
laugh.
know why that was
Better,
funny.
than,
Just
better than the old ham.
God, I'm funny? Oh.
Oh no,
a rare win for
It's
a
going,
rare,
I'm funny. It's going straight to his head.
a rare success for Jake.
Yeah.
That new ham.
Wait, was Jake
Jesus.
the one who said the Turks were?
No, that's
no,
Matt.
that's me.
that was
dude.
Matt.
That was
and
pretty
no
good.
one believed
Someone
me
in the
that it was funny.
subreddit. Someone in the subreddit said that was a good joke.
Thank you. I'm quite funny.
It was funny. It just took a second because who the fuck thinks about Scrubs ever? You're like, what if it was Turks and Scrubs?
I think about
Zach
Scrubs
Braff fans.
literally all of the time.
Okay, I'm sorry then.
But hold on, my only point was, and this
I
is,
think Scrubs changed the way we thought as humans.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't. That was a
And in
gross-
this video essay, I will now explain.
Excuse me. Let me tell you about Scrubs.
I love the
Zach
idea of just
Braff.
attributing that to like any pop culture.
Anyone who has an inner monologue
altered the way
changes
we
the way we
think.
think.
Guys, did you know that Tim Blake Nelson, director of the film O, is
Jeez.
in New Ham? He plays flight captain.
Are you the
Holy
me on
shit.
this podcast?
Sort of.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, so I have a computer. And I look stuff
Yeah,
up.
but you
I'm
like
also,
look up things.
But I'm also just Patrick Willems, and like I just stare at IMDb constantly and want to talk about people's filmographies.
You
and
know
just
what?
imagine what.
I want to do just a quick Patrick Willems appreciation post.
Okay.
I appreciate that you unplug for the Infinity podcast.
Oh yeah, it's so easy.
There's no
Because I'm
plugging of
so
other
high
podcasts
strung
on, podcast.
on
I'm so-
this
hey,
podcast. I'm like always again like on the brink of an aneurysm. And Infinity Podcast, oh, it's so easy.
Hey, I'm sorry. There's no talking about other podcasts on this podcast. And
Sorry.
I really got to put this down. Okay.
They're really insecure about the fact that they only have one podcast.
Yeah. So
They
like a
have
sick
nothing-
animal,
Hi,
we're gonna put this
Torpy.
down.
It's like missing a leg.
Yeah.
Do you want to start a Scrubs podcast with me?
Absolutely not.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely
Rachel, I
fucking
appreciate
not.
it though.
I tried.
The
I
janitor
tried.
in that show, so hilarious and wise beyond his station.
But not.
Which
He's
is a
real
poor
piece
guy.
of shit.
He is a piece of shit too, though.
They're all pieces of shit.
Dr. Cox.
No,
what
okay,
a,
so-
what a
all right.
wisecracker,
Wait,
right?
What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have now that I've sat on this for a little bit, there's 2 points I want to make.
Yo.
Yes.
First of all, and you guys can all help me clarify this.
Okay.
So Don John, right?
You mean the film directed by Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, the sex addict who's dating Scarlett Johansson.
And then Julianne Moore.
Yes,
I will never see that movie.
It's like okay.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's doing such a strange voice.
It's
that
actually
I do not like.
Is it stranger than Hey Batman, it's me, the Joker?
Hi there.
That's debatable.
Hey, oh, hello. I made you some sweet tea. It's me, the Joker. Stop listen.
I put a little whiskey in there, little brandy, because it's twisted now like I
it's
am.
definitely not piss.
It's hot out here, isn't
It's
it?
Grandma's sweet tea. Here I am in the Superman movie. It's me, the Joker.
Matt literally said the name Don John, and we immediately sabotaged his point as soon as we came in, and we were just
okay.
we could not.
I will admit,
hold the thread for 1 second.
I have every time you said the name Don John, I have thought of the Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie, and Matt paused after Don John, and so I
God.
just jumped
Yeah,
in.
you're like,
I need to prove that I know things about other movies. I will
Yeah.
say, That part,
How does that make you feel, Patrick?
broken. Like I wish my brain wasn't like this because
Freud.
this is the only thing I'm good at.
What if it's the
Hey, no.
Freud and instead of the Noid, it's Freud?
Matt, say your goddamn point.
Yeah.
Please. You interrupted him.
Yeah, I did, and I want him to. And now I'm relinquishing the floor.
And this is only part 1 of 2.
Okay.
Don John, the character, shut up, your mouth. I thought he didn't have more motivation than just being, as you said, what was it? Like a plain
dealing villain.
villain,
Which
right?
is what he says.
He says
himself
this.
about himself.
These are the words coming out of Don John.
I am but a plain dealing villain.
Do you understand the words?
Here, I actually I have the No Fear Shakespeare version.
We
so if
are
you
all
wanna-
sick. Okay.
But I am a plain. Where is it? I'll find it in the text.
Well, my question is just
In
like
this, though I may not be a flattering, honest man,
Yes.
it must not be denied that I am a plain dealing villain.
But-
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm a plain dealing villain.
Though I am not. But
I haven't had a moment to think about
Okay, in the No Fear Shakespeare version, it says, though I am not a flattering righteous man, at least you can say I am honest about being a villain.
Okay.
My brother trusts me now, yeah, as much as a master trusts the dog he muzzles or the peasant he frees by changing the big block around a man's foot. If my mouth were unrestrained, I'd bite. If I were free, I'd do what I please. Until that happens, let me be who I am and don't try to change me.
damn, Connor for real.
No Fear Shakespeare. It's free on the internet. You can look,
Truly,
you can look
it's
it up.
lapsed. It's truly. It is actually
Public.
perception changing.
Doman.
So I didn't realize. Did Don John have a revolution before the one he tries to stage at the end of the play that was quelled? So is that a much more understandable motivation for being pissed off? And it's also weird, if that's true, that everyone is like, you just got to get, boys will be boys. You just got to get your,
I mean, according
Your
to the
demons
discussion that Don John has with Conrad in this piece, Conrad says,
They're coming back from a conflict when they do the fist bump title intro, right?
yes, but
Of which Don John is a part.
Yes, but it's a question of whether or not that is an aesthetic choice by Branagh or Don John trying to play the part of subservient younger brother or bastard brother or whatever. Because Conrad says in the scene, let me be as I am and seek not to alter me, he says, you have of late stood out against your brother, and he hath taken you newly into his grace. So what I'm reading in the text is this uprising was Don John's doing, and so they had to go quell Don John's rebellion.
Right.
And because Don Pedro's, I guess, a good dude. At least
Sure.
he's not going to kill his own kin.
A gentleman,
He's
as
like
they say.
he's like a dude who's not going to kill his own brother, half brother or whatever, in a conflict. So I think what is truly happening in this, and of course because of Shakespeare, there's a lot of ways to read it, but just like my interpretation is the uprising was done by Don John. And it was quelled by Don Pedro, and Don Pedro, instead of exacting the king's justice and murdering his brother, he was like, well, now you're going to be essentially my ward. You
So
are
they're
going
just trying to be
stay
chill about it.
You're going to stay by my side, and I'm going to keep an eye on you, and I'm going to make sure you stay out of mischief. You're essentially under house arrest by me, and I'm the house, and you have to stay with me.
It's just so weird that okay, so that's my first point. It is weird. That is a bigger motivating factor that is so underplayed with just this idea that he is, in general, a bad guy.
Right.
Yeah, they have a clear source of motivation for him that they underplay.
That they incredibly
Yeah,
underplay.
but also
I
that's,
forgot that was why.
But
Yeah,
that's the beauty
yeah.
of Shakespeare, though, because there are so many different ways to interpret the. I'm sorry, I keep saying the text.
It's okay.
I can't help it because it's the best way to shorthand it. But
Yeah.
there are different ways to interpret the text. Do you look at Beatrice's line about "I know you of old" as "You are my ex-lover and we did it," or "I know you of old because you always do this linguistic thing where you just say something mean and then you walk away."
Right.
what is like, how do you want to play it? Like, what do you perceive in the backstory? And I think that's why this stuff is so interesting and prevalent all of the time, because it is poetry. It is up to interpretation. It is literally up to you as the user to play the avatar of the character how you will. You know, for me, when I played Shakespearean roles, like, I had to ask myself a lot of like background questions, like, what does this mean? Like, who is this? Like, what is this relationship to me? You know, and like, then you have to pick an action. And what I appreciate about Keanu in this is like, he has done that work. Like, he has made choices, and he is playing the actions of barbing and prying
He found
and
his source memory.
needling and stoking the fire and biting and fighting and doing all of these things with such a limited text to go off of. I love it. I think it's great. I'm sorry, I nerded out.
No, dude, this is exactly why we invite
Because
guests
we
on.
don't know all this. We're illiterate and just Philistines here.
No, I've seen a few Shakespeare plays.
I know.
I've read a
I'm
few Shakespeare
kidding,
plays
I'm kidding.
too.
But I've
I
never.
took a class with frickin' Patrick Stewart's son.
Ooh. I
Hank
just like
Stewart.
I've never studied
Daniel
Much Ado About.
Stewart.
Oh, sorry.
I know very little about Much Ado About Nothing, other than just like general references to it, and like
Yeah.
I knew the gist of it. I'd never seen a production of it. I'd never read it. I'd never seen a film of it, and so
How did you perceive this? Did you find it accessible and easy to follow?
extremely.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the interesting things I found while trying to research this was Tom Hiddleston talking about seeing this version of Much Ado About Nothing and it changing his opinion about Shakespeare, which I think is
Interesting.
really
And
fascinating.
then he works with Kenny Branagh
On
years
Thor.
later. Actually, Kenneth Branagh makes him a movie star.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
But no, actually, I think. Wait, Matt, did you ever finish your?
I had one
point?
more just sort
Please.
of
Yes, I'm sorry.
stylistic
Yeah, go for it, bro.
I'll
Go
take
ahead.
I'm going to throw the text away now. It's on
all
the
right.
ground now.
Whoa, who are
Bye-bye,
you?
text.
Yeah, what are you? Who are you?
By one scene of Don John.
John Barth? French guy. I don't remember.
Oh, Roland Barthes.
Roland. Fuck. Yeah, Roland
Jeez,
Barth.
I have no idea. We've gone outside
French
of the
people.
realm.
I remember
hate
in
the
college
text
reading
or-
Bart by Bart, and oh shit, what was it called?
I think it's Bart on Bart.
No, that was one book. The it's like the pleasure of the text.
Could be. Sounds
Pleasure
French.
text.
Sounds very
Yeah.
French. No, my question.
The guy.
Though.
Yeah, it was the pleasure of the text.
Awesome. My question is more because I've seen a bunch of Shakespeare adaptations, and obviously this has occurred for a very long time. Basically, since the advent of cinema, right? There's been like some kind of like super early on when film was being made. There's been like there was that like Russian version of I don't know, not Hamlet, but something else.
I would imagine spoken cinema. I don't think a silent talkie would be a good. Or a silent.
Can you imagine a silent film with like all of the interstitial
All the
text
text.
of Shakespeare
Like,
cutting out?
Jesus. Yeah.
That'd
But
be awesome.
what I noticed, and this was
Charlie
something
Chaplin.
like because like for me it was Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann film.
Okay.
That like and a little bit the Titus Andronicus film by
Julie Taymor.
the Julie Taymor one, which I actually really like. That kind of were
It's very good.
the two intros to that.
Mm-hmm.
But and this happens I feel like in
Actually,
this
guys,
what.
I'm just looking up the list of all the Shakespeare adaptations. There's
so many, because it's free.
Yeah, I know, but there's a film adaptation of As You Like It from 1912.
Yes.
Wow.
That is
Damn.
totally a silent film.
Interesting.
How? I mean, I guess
They
I
just must
get
use
it.
the
Like they
cards.
just put them in the woods and put the girl in the boy clothes, and
There's like
they figure it out.
Merchant of Venice 1914.
Wow.
This track, so like the Shakespeare adaptation.
Midsummer Night's Dream 1909.
I cannot.
I'll stop now.
I cannot believe this because Shakespeare wrote these plays as an auditory medium. Like in
it's
Elizabethan
yeah.
England, they would say, "Let's go hear a play."
I'm
It
just
honestly
saying
seems
like
terrible to watch these as silent films.
But I don't
Yeah.
think
No
that's
offense to these
I don't think
filmmakers.
that's true. I think like
Well, I mean, the themes are universal, but I almost said the text. I'm sorry. The text is.
I'm not offended. You can keep saying the text. all
Thank you.
like.
But the text is music.
Guys,
like it is rhythmic. And
D.W. Griffith directed The Taming of the Shrew in 1908.
Of course, it would be Tammy of the Shrew.
1908.
Let me
DW.
let me hit this broad.
But like
And Starver.
that was
Jeez.
7 years before he made Birth of a Nation.
Right.
Weird.
So this
Just
is
warming
amazing.
up.
This is great. This really does just sort of underline my point that like
Yeah. Go. I'm sorry.
film and Shakespeare have a sort of almost just coexistence, you know, like the instant this was like made, you know, probably because like the stage as like it slowly segued into like filmic stuff was like the natural progression, but like
Sure.
But
you know,
also because Shakespeare, by the turn of the century, was already public domain and had been public domain
Right,
for
yeah.
eons.
right.
Yeah.
So like there's an
I'm
interesting.
gonna film a train. Now I'm gonna do Shakespeare.
I'm so scared of the train. So like I guess my problem now, and I think this has more to do with like recent things. This isn't like even Laurence Olivier era, is like people are very loud and they're yelling the text constantly.
Yes.
They are over emoting as far as I'm
They're
concerned.
chewing the scenery and the words because they don't necessarily understand.
And even Kenneth Branagh, who like is probably the most, you know, observant and like faithful Shakespeare scholar, who so obviously is like passionate about bringing it to film so that people can like share in his enjoyment of Shakespeare and these plays. It is notable that he's like the least over emotional or like sort of histrionic with the stuff, but like especially, and this is not but like the Romeo plus Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann shit, everyone's screaming the lines.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time in this movie, I feel like there's a tendency, because of how the language is, to misrepresent some of the tone that I think should be coming across by just over enunciating the words because they're difficult, and like therefore somehow, because it follows, overacting, and like not just in the way of classic theater acting where you need to be broad so that the audience in the back row can see you, but like literally overacting so that it kind of undermines some of the purpose and intent behind and the nuance of like the language.
Yeah, but also we're dealing with a language that is not our own. Like we're dealing with ways of meter and syntax that do not live in the way that we speak, and even we in 1993, and it's definitely a crutch that a lot of actors lean on. And I remember being in various Shakespearean plays. I only ever did comedies. I never did any tragedies. Just like half the battle was deciphering what the fuck any of this meant, and then having to still say it like you know what it means. It's really difficult. Like anytime I watch any piece of Shakespeare, sight unseen, or like like I haven't read the piece in a while, and with this definitely it's just like, as long as you do it in a way that I understand what it is you're doing,
Yeah.
that's it. Like that's it. And I found this one really accessible because I felt like I understood what they were saying almost all the time. And I think the issue is people rely on yelling the text because they perceive Shakespeare as like this important work and all of this. But all you gotta do,
Every word needs to be
every
super
word
crisp.
needs to be super important. But like,
Yeah.
if you're going to act the text, I'm so sorry, just make it a drinking game every time I say the text. Like what you need to do is you need to just look at the meaning,
Right.
and pick an action that fits the meaning. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all you have to do. Like all of acting is so simple when you just look at it and go, I'm going to play an action. Like that's it. Like you don't like, what's my motivation? That's garbage. Whatever. I'm going to live in this character for 6 months. That's garbage. Literally
Hey, Daniel Day-Lewis is angry right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm so
he's fine.
sorry.
He's fine.
The method is garbage.
Why didn't he ever do Shakespeare? I'm sure he did on stage maybe years ago.
I think he
Maybe.
did actually Macbeth, and then famously saw
Macbeth
the actual
is-
ghost of his dead dad. This is like a
Macbeth is
famous
the-
story.
Oh,
with
Yeah,
Russian
like
movie
there's
I was
no,
thinking.
there's
No joke.
literally no reason that anyone should
And he
make
never did it
themselves
again.
crazy
Yeah.
or make themselves send condoms to their co-star. Like literally,
dead
all
rat.
you have to do is look at a text, find your actions, and
Yeah.
play those actions.
That's it,
And
yeah.
what I appreciate about a lot of this particular interpretation is people are playing actions to needle, to bite, to plead, to punish, and these actions are so prevalent in the piece, and I get caught up in it in a way that I don't often get caught up in a lot of works, because like I think there's a lot of discussion and a lot of working together on it, and I'm sure a lot of that comes from the actors being familiar with each other, i.e. like Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh being married at the time.
Very
you know?
biblically familiar.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Humana.
Yeah, Ike's. But I think that this movie does what I want a Shakespeare adaptation on film to do. It makes me understand it. And even more so, it makes me realize that Shakespeare was writing rom-coms in the 1500s.
He's literally writing sex
This
comedies.
is a literal rom-com.
This is American Pie 3.
It totally is.
Yeah.
I mean, in classic rom-com
Branagh Stifler.
fashion, you have the like either midpoint or end of second act misunderstanding.
Someone interrupts a wedding.
Exactly, which breaks up the main couple, and then they have to get over that misunderstanding and discover the truth
Yep.
until they reconcile at the end. But so I will say, so again, I'm someone here, who, as I've said, coming in, knowing not a lot about Much Ado About Nothing, never having seen or watched it before, and one thing I appreciated about this film that I really enjoyed, as in like I really enjoyed the film.
The butts.
The exactly. As soon as I saw the butts, I was like 5 stars on Letterboxd. Done. Love it. Ooh. There's like little bits
Butts
of
galore.
little bits of scrotum. I can see
the
very
s-
briefly.
Like I
Damn
said, front
scrot.
scrotum, side boob.
You
There
little
we
scribble
go.
of scrot.
But no, it's because clearly from the very first scene there is a heightened tone to everything. Like you have that amazing opening title sequence, which is in slow motion,
Beautiful.
and where all the men cheer as the title comes up. And this is not, again, coming off of especially Branagh's Henry V, which was so notable for its really, like, it's how gritty it was.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's so I love that movie a lot more than this movie.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
That's acceptable.
ditto.
I feel like there's a lot more depth and interesting things to do in a Shakespearean like tragedy or a history. Like every Shakespearean comedy has elements that are borrowed from other works of the time or Shakespeare's own backlog. I like just look at the idea of Shakespeare having a clergy person say, hey, you know what would fix your problem if you pretended you were dead. Like, I watched that scene and I went, oh, like in Romeo and Juliet, when the friar's like, pretend you're dead and it'll all work out. And
Yeah.
that time it doesn't.
Right.
But like, it's all repetitive. It's all repurposed.
He does borrow from
like,
himself, yeah.
Shakespeare is pop culture. Like,
May I-
he's homogeny.
May I finish the thing that I was
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Yes,
go for
I'm,
it.
I'm getting really amped about the part.
I know.
And
I just
cannot help
I
myself.
just mentioned Henry V, but like coming off of Henry V, which was like, you know, really gritty and like had like attention to historical detail, like everyone's like all muddy and stuff like that, and then doing the huge pivot to go into this, which is a big heightened wacky romantic comedy. And of course then he does the sort of operatic Hamlet,
Yes.
which I have seen and which rules.
It's very good.
I think it's the best Hamlet movie.
Unabridged.
David Tennant's Hamlet's better.
Well, I haven't seen that one.
Didn't David Tennant also do Much Ado?
Yes,
Okay.
he did. But
Fuck you, David Tennant.
But with this movie, like right away, like at the very beginning, you know, it opens with just the text appearing on screen as Emma Thompson recites the song, and then you have that very first scene where it honestly it reminds me of the segment in Fantasia in like the. the sort of like Greek mythology one with all the people just sort of like lounging about in like meadows
with the like spring right.
It's like the pastoral
the
symphony.
Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony.
Yeah.
One of the adjectives I would ascribe to this Much Ado is very pastoral.
Exactly, but
It's decadent and it's also pastoral, which is very strange.
But it reminds me of that, and so right away, you have these. They'll have like slow motion. You'll have like the silliness of everyone cheering. You have this whole montage of everyone just ripping their clothes off and
taking a bath.
and taking baths,
Yeah,
and it's really funny and
Dionysian.
goofy.
very
And
good.
so because of stuff like that, for me, Kenneth Branagh himself giving this like really big kind of screwball performance really worked.
Yeah.
And like Michael Keaton basically just playing Beetlejuice but doing Shakespeare.
I screamed so loud because I wasn't particularly paying attention to the rolling credits. I was paying attention to the scrote in the opening.
Fair.
So I forgot or didn't notice that Michael Keaton was listed on the credits.
He doesn't show up until like Act 2.
Yeah, because that's like Dogberry. Like,
Comic
why?
relief,
Right,
man.
but
Why
again,
Dogberry?
this was Michael Keaton's first movie after being Batman.
Yeah.
In Batman Returns. And so it's wild that he's like, that his next thing is, I'm going to be Dogberry and show up midway through this movie and just be the dirtiest character
And
in
I
the film.
screamed so loud. I was like,
His hair
"Ah!"
is
Yeah,
wonderful.
but like
He
really
looks like
just
With
shit.
that little like gelled curl.
It's like if Russell Brand was balding or something, like just
it was
like
so
perfect.
good.
But,
He
like,
looks terrible.
but just-
And then Ben Elton like licking his finger and like touching his.
It's so
Fucked
good.
up.
But just like what I was getting at with this, because the thing is, Much Ado About Nothing, it's basically a thing of it's like a silly comedy about a bunch of people hanging around like a big house
Yep.
and
Yeah.
like getting into hijinks. It's like, again,
Yeah,
like
that's
you
it.
know, like when
Everybody's eavesdropping.
yeah, like when Joss Whedon did his adaptation, that was basically a thing where he was just like, "Hey, all my friends come over. Let's just like have a party where we also make a movie.
Yeah, shoot
And
in
we'll
my
just-
backyard.
We'll shoot in my backyard." And it's basically that. And so for me, having just like I think Branagh really clearly establishes this heightened tone to it, and I think the performances are really consistent with all of that.
Yeah.
And so, like Matt, I'm very surprised to hear you say that you didn't think Branagh and Emma Thompson like had chemistry.
I didn't.
I think that's I that was
Because for me,
very evident,
Like
yeah.
for me, that like just the two of them with their again very sort of like screwbally, just like banter back and forth. Like, and I think, and they are both clearly so comfortable like doing this material.
Yeah.
And I think Emma Thompson had just like come off of winning an Oscar for Howard's End, and
Really?
she had like her run in the '90s is insane.
she's brilliant.
And I mean, she is like an international treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, here's a question, Emma Thompson related.
Okay.
Because
I have a massive crush on her from this movie. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
all
Oh
right.
yeah, she like. I'm
I
sorry.
was I like.
and then
Oh,
she
like-
writes.
I was like,
I-
how dare you, Kenneth Branagh,
I'm
break
terrible
up with this woman?
because I'm such a little creep where I was like looking at the costumes and like
Yeah.
loving the costumes, and then I was like, oof, everybody's got such good cleave happening. Like,
Whew,
How
Imelda.
is this
Let's talk about
possible?
Imelda.
Like,
I wasn't about to bring it up because
like
because
I
it's
felt
gross, but
jealous
yeah,
because
dude.
like I'm pretty top heavy, and I was just like, oh, to have that bust as a person, like.
Oh, that opening scene must
Like
have been
I am equally turned on and jealous by the breasts of this show.
the perfect combo.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. I'm just like I love it. Like you don't like. I bet you're so comfortable in sometime.
more like Much Ado About Busting, but bust like
But it's like
bosom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one,
like
Jake,
busting.
but also
boobs.
the other one.
Sorry,
But
I'm a
also
creep.
busting.
I wanted to ask a question because we're talking Emma Thompson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing about Emma Thompson is
Trelawney.
She is Professor Trelawney. But in the third Harry Potter movie, the one that Kenneth Branagh did not direct but wanted to,
I just realized that was she in any of the ones that Kenneth Branagh directed?
he didn't direct any Harry Potter movies.
Oh no, he didn't. He was just in one.
Yeah, he's in the second one. But the thing is, Emma Thompson is multi-talented,
Fine.
and again, having this she had this insane run in the '90s. Almost
Check out
all
her EP.
almost all in period pieces because
Yeah.
she did like the two Merchant Ivory
Sense-
movies. She won an Oscar for Howard's End, and then she won an Oscar for writing Sense and Sensibility.
Yep.
Yes.
So she's a writer as well. And okay,
And she rules, and you should check out her EP, Sins and Scott Ability, which is Scott track.
I mean, I would listen to that. But,
If only.
But no, okay.
I'm sorry.
I want to do a survey here because this episode
Yeah.
will be dropping very close to it. Because in I think like a couple weeks, the movie Last Christmas comes out, which was written by Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
And everyone's been speculating since that trailer came out: is Henry Golding actually playing someone who's dead, or an angel, or a ghost, or is he a real person? And before this movie comes out, and like spoilers to saturate everything, I want to just see what just go on the record with everyone's theories about what is up with Henry Golding in Emma Thompson's new screenplay.
I have no clue what I know of the movie Last Christmas, but I didn't know there was like a
Have you seen the
bounding
trailer?
theories. No,
Okay.
I didn't either.
sorry.
I
I like Emilia Clarke. I know about this movie.
Well, okay, the thing in the trailer is that
The
Henry
poster looks
Golding,
bad. Yeah, for sure.
Henry Golding, who's obviously the male lead in the movie, seems to be wearing the same outfit through the whole trailer, and so a lot of people.
okay.
So there's a lot of theories like this from the second the trailer dropped, like months
like he
ago,
a ghost?
that he's like a ghost or an angel, or maybe this is like an update of the bishop/preacher's wife in some way. We don't know. Also,
What's going on with
Rachel
you?
seems to have
What's
thoughts.
going on with you, Rachel?
Rachel,
Why
she's
are
full
you-
of thoughts. It seems.
Yeah, and I have none. So
I don't know what Last Christmas is going to be about. All I do know is it would be so shitty to have Emilia Clarke in another romantic piece where somebody fucking dies, because frankly the last feature film I saw her in, which maybe is the last feature film she was in because Game of Thrones is still happening,
Don't say
was
it.
Me Before You.
Yep.
oh no,
And
with that wheelchair
the
guy.
dies in it, and it's very sad. And if Emilia Clarke is in another movie where I weep openly in a theater, I will not, and I do not accept
Will
it.
you be mad at Emma Thompson?
I will legitimately be mad at cinema.
All of cinema.
As an entire art,
A
because
medium.
if they do dirty to Emilia Clarke again, I'm going to burn cinema down. Because
Like she did King's Landing.
I'm gonna go full Dracarys on cinema, and I will
On
not
Emma
feel
Thompson?
bad about it. But I'm like a leftist. I'm not a fascist, so I don't know how it pairs out. But
I say forgive and forget.
Listen, you gotta
if
gotta
Last
find
Christmas
some
is a bad
blend.
movie, just give everybody a big
I
bug.
really
Say
hope that
better
Last
luck next
Christmas
time.
is like a very good movie.
I mean, it's written by Emma Thompson
all
and
I
directed by Paul
know
Feig.
is
And features the soundtrack of all George Michael songs.
I don't want
Maybe she has faith.
Emilia
fucking
Clarke to
rules.
die, and I feel like they've set up this idea that Emilia Clarke is dying because there's a little bit in one of the trailers where
In a
it's like you've
hospital.
missed 5 doctor's appointments,
Uh-oh.
and I swear to God, if Emilia Clarke dies in this, I will end all of
You know what
civilization.
would be
Wait. Maybe it's like Meet Joe Black, and he's actually like an
God,
angel
he's
or like the Grim
dead.
Reaper, and he's there to
Kiss her.
or to basically give her like this great last
here to
week.
kiss you.
Wait, because
full film.
With that old kiss of
no,
death.
guys, it is her last Christmas.
I hate
Yeah,
it.
I bet you that's fucking
I
right.
bet it is.
I bet you're fucking right,
I
Patrick.
hate it.
You know what
Yeah.
else I think? Maybe she wants to have sex with a ghost, and the only way that's possible is she's also a ghost, so she has to die. So she kills herself.
And then they make pottery together.
You
Okay.
spiritual pottery.
Anyway,
On
much
their
ado about
plasma,
nothing. Can I just?
Emma Thompson is very, very good, and
Yes.
she's always been great. And I
Yes.
just want to say, I think she's great in this movie.
Yes.
And I think she has chemistry with Kenneth Branagh.
May I say, to change the subject, I think the highest form of comedy that I've seen in a Shakespearean adaptation is in this particular version of Much Ado, in the scene where Don Pedro, Claudio, and Leonardo are talking out loud off the cuff about how Beatrice is in love with Benedict.
Right.
And there is this, I think this is my favorite shot
think I know exactly what you're
in the
talking about.
whole piece, where Claudio is like, Beatrice says that she'll die if this. or she'll die if that, and she'll die if this. And Branagh in the far background is going hedge, 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 and it's beautiful. And it is
It's pretty great.
It is literally the best piece of comedy I think I've seen in
He's like
2019.
Ross from Friends.
He's
doing
just like,
sitcom shit.
Boop, boop, and like they do it in threes, which it obviously like
Right.
that's how you do comedy.
That's the math of
and
comedy.
Like I love so much that like the team looked at this play and went, Claudio's saying like she'll die if this, she'll die if this, she'll die if that. It's like, Shakespeare did the law of threes. How do we honor that and elevate it at the same time?
Yeah.
And I when I first watched this on Monday night, I did have a notebook out because I was like, I'm gonna take notes, I'm gonna get ready, I'm gonna do the whole thing. The only note I took was 1, 2, 3 hedges because it's the only thing that I was like, I never want to forget that this happened.
I have a note for that scene as well.
Is it that Kenneth Branagh's chair acting is incredible?
It's so good.
His chair work is Clint Eastwood worthy. But his no,
Wait.
because all I am attuned to is the worst of anything. So like I was like, is there a cum joke in this? And I think there is.
Go on.
For listeners, Rachel had just gotten up,
but I'm
and
not-
is now leaning against the wall.
Yo, I'm not
with her
even
hand
kidding.
clamped
I
over
think
her
there
mouth.
is one.
I'm sorry, I took a swig of my beer before you said the words that you just said, and I was scared I was going to spit everywhere, and I figured I'd spit on your blinds and not on the equipment.
Thank you.
So you know how like there's
Go on. You know how there's
Okay,
what?
yeah.
there's like the part where they're playing the music for the first time and like the priest is singing or whatever.
Sigh no more, lady, sigh no more.
Also,
Men were deceivers ever.
Well,
it's in my head for all time.
The guy, the musician playing
Balthazar.
playing Balthazar. That's,
God, I'm such a nerd.
no, you were in the show. That's Patrick Doyle, who has been the composer on I think maybe every movie Kenneth Branagh has directed.
So okay,
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh's character
Benedict.
goes.
It's important. It's important
It is.
because he's Benedict.
It goes
The whole time.
He goes how like, and I'm gonna misquote, but like he's like how sheep's guts. You know,
It's such a good line.
sheep's guts bring
it's
out
a
the
it's a
soul.
wonder that sheep's guts wrench out the soul of man. And
Right.
oh, I love it.
Okay,
I almost
but it-
printed that too.
but it
just
is
to
a cum
bring-
joke in my opinion because it's about how the strings are made out of sheep's gut, right? That string a lute or whatever.
Yes.
But I believe that even at that time, sheep's guts were the closest things to condoms that existed that you could use as a contraceptive at the
Weird.
time.
You might be right.
And the
Yeah,
soul
no,
of
that
man,
makes
the
sense.
quick, the little death, etc., all refers to orgasm or like the essence that's drawn out of a man when he
Again,
comes. So I
this
think
is
it's a
why
double
this-
entendre.
This is why this text is so good.
I know.
Because like that is absolute. Like I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well,
Because
it's the
I was
only thing I've noticed.
It was for me that line read was so interesting because it's like, oh right, like instruments are made of such rude things like wood and
Right.
and nylon and,
yet,
whatever.
As a whole, they.
But,
Guys,
like-
I want to float out an idea here. Matt, you should become a college professor and teach a class called Shakespeare Me with Your Benedict, an exploration of cum in the works of William Shakespeare.
I'll see you one better. Don't become a professor because that sounds hard, and I don't think you'd
Composition
ever
101.
you'd ever get anywhere in your career with that just being your class. Just do like a Comic-Con panel and just be like, "Cum jokes and
Comic-Con.
Shakespeare."
Comic-Con?
Comic-Con.
Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Because I will never do. I'm not one of these nerds like Pat who reads comic books.
Cool guy that goes to Comic-Con.
This is no, you just draw them and put them on the internet.
I put my money where my mouth is.
But yeah, and also I really to live in this scene because I think this scene is the rumor scene about Beatrice is
We're all like gathered around like a fountain.
they're
There's
like
all these
yeah
like
there's
just-
there's like a musical number which is really great, but in the way that Denzel, Sean, and the guy who plays Leonardo do the "we're going to deceive Benedict" scene where they're just like they're trying to do improv and they fail so bad, where Denzel's like, yes, you told me that Beatrice does this for this, and then Leonardo's just like, yes, but my daughter told you what it was that she did. And then they all get together and whisper, and then Denzel goes, that's amazing.
Right. They literally do a lost in translation. It's better not to know what they said because you can just use your imagination.
Oh, but
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to cut the play, like to cut the because like
that's
scene
the best interpreted
just, like,
comedy scene.
Can we also just talk about how nice it is to see Denzel Washington in full charm mode, just in a supporting role?
I would have married him. Beatrice, you made a dumb choice.
I will say,
Truly.
the thing about Denzel in this movie is because he's constantly smiling and is so charming, in every goddamn scene he shows up, I just expect him to go, my man.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
And he never says it.
Because he can't.
He can't.
That's not in the
But
text.
it's like, he has never been more on the brink of saying my man in his entire career.
He's on the brink.
Even in the film American Gangster, where he says it 5 times.
Yeah.
He's edging.
He is.
Yeah, he is edging,
But
and you can tell he's loving it.
I was delighted every time he's on screen. And also it's great when he is grinning and you're just like, this is the coolest man alive. And then Keanu is just scowling next to him.
Just like full grump face.
What a duo.
Oh
So
boy.
let's
just
move
like
the plot forward
light and dark.
because the actual turning points in the story are pretty simple. So these soldiers return from, I guess, quelling an uprising.
Can we actually talk about a scene? Because we've mentioned the nudity scene.
Yes.
And I've got to say, what is wild
It's beautiful.
is that this movie, I looked it up, it's rated PG-13 only for brief sensuality, which is which is a reference to the scene where
My life.
what's name starts with the B?
Baraccio.
Where Baraccio is sort of like hooking up with who they think is Hero, but is not Hero.
He's actually
Right.
Margaret,
And they're like
played by Imelda Staunton.
Exactly, and he's like pulling her dress down, and they're like making love by the
And
window.
he shouts the name Hero, and it's weird that Margaret doesn't go full stop.
She does not care.
And is just like, what? Excuse me?
And look how handsome that man is. She's so into it. She's like not even hearing what he's saying.
Baraccio?
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
You are kidding? Okay,
I'm
thank
totally
God.
kidding. He looks like a troll.
He looks
okay.
bad. All right.
So-
well,
Sorry, he looks like a cave troll specifically.
He looks like the
Caveman.
guy who would be the henchman villain to Cruella de Vil.
exactly.
In
Exactly.
101 Dalmatian.
Yes.
Well said, Jake. Well said. But no, what I wanted to say was, it's rated PG-13 only referring to that one scene,
Yeah.
no references to like brief nudity.
The
But
scrote. I can't believe it.
It is look okay. I'm fascinated by the American film rating system and the weird rules they have.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Titanic managed to get around the rules about ratings and nudity because James Cameron argued that it qualified as artistic nudity.
Yeah.
And so
oh,
they
you're
were
telling
able,
me it's all just fucking Mad Libs over there?
Yes.
No one really has an idea of what it means?
There's just like a board.
Yeah.
It's like this dumb, corrupt system. But I think it's wild that there is so much nudity that is, and it's like basically sort of like Spy Who Shagged Me level stuff of them just like cutting away at the right time,
Yeah.
are just showing things from the right angle where it's like you never quite see enough for it to cross this level where it would be rated R.
Yeah.
But there is so much more nudity than I expected.
Yeah. I always imagine the line of like the MPAA as, because I imagine just like a conclave of like rich white dudes who are making these decisions, and it's just like, well, how do you avoid the pants feelings? Like, the scrote does not evoke the pants feelings for a league of rich, white, straight, cisgender dudes,
And again,
who are probably the head of this thing.
And the scrote is one of those things where you do have to look kind of closely because they're always like running,
Yeah.
like with their backs to the camera.
Exactly.
It's not on a
And
full display.
It's like, if you really think about that, like, sorry to get like weird and like deep into our society or whatever. But like
The Joker.
most things are sanctioned and cloistered because of the pants feeling. Like
Yeah.
most of the time, things are
We're talking
shut.
about horniness. We're talking about horniness.
I'm talking about any time anyone in a powerful position, which
off.
mostly has been dudes. With like, I mean, even look at this fucking play where it's like a woman had the sex once and now her life and her family's life is ruined, and then her dad's like, it'd be better if you were dead. Anyway,
That's true.
Punched her and then go.
And
it would
then
be
go,
funny if you were dead.
I'd rather you be dead. I loved you so much. You're literally the worst because somebody diddled you.
Well, she's human trash now.
Yeah, she's worthless. But anyway, I'm trying to like skirt around the like things to just say that like most things that have been considered bannable or are rateable have come from a position of, well, this gave me pants feelings.
Right, which is exactly why they're way stricter about things like sex and nudity than
violence. Than like uninhibited violence.
Which
Right.
just gives free reign to perverts who love murder.
Yeah,
and are horny
I
about
just
it.
started watching Letterkenny, and there's the episode where they do fart book, and the pastor starts masturbating to all the farts, and it's just like,
Yo, have you
I
seen
hate
cake? Have you seen cake
everything.
farts?
yes, of course I've seen cake farts.
great.
I'm a nasty person.
Yeah. So what are we talking about, really?
But really, like, what are we doing? But it's so interesting to, like, if you just take 2 seconds to look at, like, our history and, like, what has been banned art, it generally comes from a position of, this made me feel as a straight man in society. It made me feel horny.
But what?
And now it's bad.
But this is exactly why
It's so
I'm
weird.
amazed that Branagh got away
well,
with as
because
much
he didn't
as he
show
did.
nips.
He didn't, but he showed like a lot of butts, and they're like bathing and frolicking, and trust me, as someone who thinks too much about like movie ratings, this is maybe the most nudity I've ever seen in a PG-13 movie.
But also, there's the animated classic, The Road to El Dorado, and they draw those butts.
And you know who does a voice of one of the two main characters?
Kenneth Branagh.
Wow.
I'm
This is blowing my
I will
fucking
never
mind.
stop being sad knowing that Road to El Dorado was originally written where those two main characters were boyfriends, and then they were like, no, we got to put a girl love interest in it.
I've never seen the movie.
It's so good.
Is it?
It's so good.
Does it hold up?
Elton John does the score and does like it.
That was a Warner Brothers animated movie, right?
It was, and it's very, very good and very fun. But then the credits roll and you go, but then colonialism. But I
But is
love it.
Keanu Reeves in it?
No, I'm sorry.
Well, then we should.
Then we're gonna have to murder this baby in its bed.
Yeah.
Now.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I love Road to El Dorado.
Don't apologize. We've already gone on plenty of stupid tangents that, like, us three started.
I think, like, you know, what I was actually surprised was, in the same line of thinking as, like, the nudity, the fact that you can see balls in this, and the fact that, for the same reasons you were kind of describing, male nudity is actually regarded in a much more, like, censorious way than female nudity.
Exactly. Like the
That
whole thing.
this would be too much,
Right.
For the male nudity,
It's
not
like
the female
like,
nudity.
you can't show an erect penis even in an R-rated film.
No.
That is an NC-17 immediately.
Right,
And so
exactly.
that's why it was shocking that like these quick glimpses of scrotum.
And penis.
Scrotum-
It's-
scrotorati
It's not
fit in
just
there.
scrotums, it's penises too.
You see a little
Jake, were
penis.
you on frame by frame?
I immediately saw like Kenneth Branagh's penis.
Well, I didn't.
I did.
He's running and he's
Jake-
in profile, and you see the head of his dick.
Jake, you looking for it? Jake, describe Kenneth
Yeah, I
Branagh's
was
penis.
looking for it, and I found it immediately.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Question:
His
is
penis was there immediately.
does it still have its decorative hat or not?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. His
Is she
decorative hat?
circumcised or not?
Oh, no, I don't think so. From what I remember, I think Kenneth Branagh is
He's Cirqued Up?
Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil? Nice.
Yeah.
How dare you? I was singing Cirque du Soleil.
Were you about to?
I was about to say Cirque du Soleil.
Damn, dude. I love
Yeah.
when geniuses meld.
Just like same brain.
What have I done? Okay, wait. Sorry, I just wanted to talk about the nudity scene and the fact that this is a PG-13 movie, but we can steer it back to the actual story.
But butts aren't considered
Yeah.
nudity.
In film ratings, they are. That would get a brief nudity label if you usually just like see someone.
Look, guys, it was
someone's
brief
butt.
sensuality.
That's why all the Minions movies are PG-13.
Yeah. Remember the one minion with a thong?
Yeah. That's NC-17.
How many people have beat off to that
Like-
thong minion, do you think?
I don't know.
Probably too many.
Yes.
Mostly boomers, I'd imagine.
You think boomers?
They love them minion memes. I imagine they probably are
It's
like,
it's wine o'clock somewhere, but it's a minion with a glass of
they
wine,
go-
and they're
they
just
go-
jerking off.
They go full Bubba Hotep, and they're just like, I felt something at this minion.
Finally.
A banana.
It's been so
Something
long.
Blue Chew doesn't have to bring out in me.
So the thing is, that we've gone so out of order and jumped all over the place through this episode.
We have.
I feel like we have actually covered so much of the story. Ah, shit. He's at it
Death.
again.
Destruction.
Dancing on the stairs.
Crime.
Gary
Todd
Glitter.
Phillips.
No, okay, well, let me
Oh,
just...
well, I do declare
no,
Batman.
it's the Joker.
It's
That
it's sexy Southern Belle Joker.
Oh, no, Debbie Not Ball Joker.
we must go to the cordial dance, you and I. I'm the Joker.
What would Batman's voice sound in a Southern accent?
Where are the... No,
Hey,
do like a...
maybe Pattinson's gonna do a southern accent. Maybe that's his big choice.
I do declare. No, do like a Sam Elliott, but lower.
No, just do Rhett Butler's line from Gone with the Wind, but in a Batman accent.
What's his line?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Oh yeah, the famous one.
Yeah,
The famous one everyone knows.
you know that one from that
Just remember, just think,
piece.
hockey pads.
Oh yeah, hockey pads. I'm not gonna do the voice.
Damn it!
I saw the panic in Jake's. They're like, not even panic, but just blank, just like not even knowing where
Total
to start.
disinterest in
Like,
doing the voice.
I
Yeah,
can't
thank you.
marry these
Guys,
two
I'm sorry. There was a
concepts.
siren. I brought up the Joker.
It's
So
okay.
my only
I'll
so I just
play
wanted
in
to bring
that
up the plot
space.
points, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
These soldiers come.
Yes.
There's things happen.
Literally, or not.
Yes.
Who knows?
A lot of them don't, and that's kind of the
in
problem.
the bath,
But,
probably.
like,
Nasty,
So it moves quickly. Like there's.
as it would.
Are you saying sex stuff again?
Yes.
God damn it. So, right, it's hard to determine exactly what the pre-existing history is with everyone involved in
Yeah,
the cast.
because no one's really talking about it.
No
you
one's
gotta,
really saying
you
it.
gotta,
They're being
you gotta
demure.
release your sexual history. Come on.
And so, so what ends up happening basically is that Claudio, right?
The guy, the
I-
handsome guy,
I
not
love
Josh
this-
Hartnett.
I love this woman.
Yeah, well,
Kate Beckinsale.
Well,
Her
call
name's
him not Josh Hartnett.
Her name's Hero.
Hero.
And Claudio's
He's
like
into it.
The charming lady doth besmirch my unpackable record of feelings not, and yet do the nether regions betwixt my withers tingle in such a way as to Okay, nailing it.
Well, she's a modest young woman.
Can we also just say that young Kate Beckinsale kind of looks like young Jennifer Connelly?
Sort of.
I think every so often it'll be like, a shot of her, and I'll be like, oh, they look. As they got older, they diverged. But
If you know what, if Jennifer Connelly merged with the said Dragon Ball Z fusion earrings with Faruqa Balk.
Yes.
That's Kate Beckinsale in your
Yeah,
mind?
and I fucking nailed it.
Also, Kate Beckinsale. Who
I'd fucking nail it.
She marries
sure.
a guy who kind of resembles Josh, which kind of makes up for the fact, not quite though, that in Pearl Harbor, she and Josh should have been together, but then he died.
Yeah.
Very true. Okay.
Spoilers for Pearl Harbor.
Hey,
Everyone's heard our episode
you had
about that movie,
400
right?
years to watch Pearl Harbor.
That came out in like the 1500s, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It was actually the first movie.
1553.
Yeah.
The very first film.
So Claudio and Hero.
Yes.
They're just like they're kind of the boring hot people.
They're the breeders.
Right. They're the breeders who are like, we're hot and young, so like obviously we're just sort of attracted to each other by the laws of nature.
Yeah.
Then there's Benedict, Kenneth Branagh.
Yes.
And Beatrice.
And the thing is, in classic, like, or I guess more modern romantic comedy terms, they're kind of like the fun best friends.
They're
of each
frenemies
character.
with each other.
Yeah, they're the pantaloon and the soubrette.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
But in the sense of like in a lot of romantic comedies, there'll be your main two characters, and then often they'll each have like a best friend who's just like a more fun dynamic character.
Like Carrie Fisher in When Harry Met
That's
Sally.
exactly. But then sometimes
Right, who's overly invested in the sex life of their best friend while
Right.
having none themselves.
But also, it's so weird because Claudio and Hero are more invested in Benedict and Beatrice's sex life than Benedict and Beatrice are interested in theirs, because they're like, well, that seems like a done deal. Who cares?
Right.
Well-
it's because it's a foregone conclusion.
Oh, they're like the Marshall and Lily of the situation, where they're just like, ooh, we gotta get you together, Ted.
I will
God
say,
damn,
I
dude.
think one of the things that's actually fun about these pairings is that it kind of begins with Claudio and Hero being like, seeming like, oh, this is the main couple.
Yeah.
They are the traditional romantic leads, but really like the final, like they get their marriage happens before Benedict and Beatrice get together. Like that's sort of like stealth. The true romance of the
Yeah,
movie.
it's interesting
Right.
to see
That's
that,
what the movie ends on.
Yeah, like the B plot is actually the A plot of this.
Yeah.
Well, the true morality of the play is like that these two people who think that through like their quote unquote life experience that they'll never be able to like commit in marriage to a nice like heterosexual relationship.
I'm too smart for love.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Like,
are in fact like the most desirous of that thing, but it just takes so much hilarious like a contrivance by everyone around them who
Including masks.
yes, to get them together because they're actually like secretly incredibly desperate to like hang out. And then the final twist is that Don John, who is
Yes.
just angry, grumpy Keanu with the frowny face all the time, oiled up, hot.
Frowny face, oiled up, hot.
He's like, well, I'm mad for, the duration, so I might as well try and thwart not Benedict and
Well, because Claudio was the
Beatrice.
one who had the most acclaim in the defeat of Don John. Like he says,
right. Yes.
he lives with the most clout because of
Yeah.
my failure, and
Right.
so if I can thwart him in any way, I will bless myself in every way. Like,
Yes.
all he wants to do is just like fuck up Claudio's day, and
Yeah.
it's sort of like a deep revenge against this guy who was instrumental in his downfall.
He was
in his
embarrassed
uprising.
Guys, the more we talk about this, the more I think it is insane that this was not a teen movie in the 90s. Because, okay, I'm just going to throw this out there. The scene, where they're all like, where Benedict is listening and they all know he's listening and they're saying stuff.
and
then,
it's a perfect scene.
and they're all around the fountain and stuff like that. That should have just taken place in a mall around the
gallery.
fountain
around the fountain in the mall.
in the mall. Like, it's all right there. It's
Yeah.
like, this is a perfect high school teen comedy.
Do you ever just look at like old works, like plays or philosophy or anything of antiquity, and just go, wow, I can't believe that this idea was a new idea at this time?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what it is. Because like this was kind of weirdly new for the public, like this like bantery, hearsay, I'm gonna listen in on the thing. Like
Right.
it was new, and so like
Yeah. And,
like of course we would consider it like high school level, but like at the time I'm sure it was weirdly revolutionary.
But
Again,
was it or was
Beatrice-
it yet again relatable, which is why Shakespeare was so popular? I feel like the more
Maybe.
you read things in antiquity, despite the like, I don't know, the reputation of the things being written in sort of boring language or not having popular references, like the farther back you go in like literature, the more right you realize that like there are so many like constants that go throughout that are like incredibly relatable.
Yeah.
And like it should be a huge endorsement to like read old shit. I would say.
I will say one thought that I kept having
Gives you perspective.
in terms of referencing like old shit. And it's and I think a lot of this is just due to the casting of Emma Thompson, but I kept thinking about how much Beatrice reminded me of a Jane Austen protagonist. You know,
I do not doubt that Jane Austen was deeply like influenced by Shakespeare.
Oh, I'm
Isn't that
sure.
Does
but-
anyone
but-
watch that new Dickinson show? Sorry.
Not
I think
yet.
it premiered today or like tomorrow. It's because it's on the new like Apple streaming service. Right. It's not even out yet. But I mean, it will be when the show or when this episode is out. But I mean, you know, she definitely reminded me of like Elizabeth Bennet.
Yeah.
In some ways, and again that was like a couple hundred years later.
Yeah.
And I like Benedict does not remind me as much of like the male love interests in Jane Austen, but she really does.
Darcy is the actual combination of Benedict and Don John.
There you go.
You're right.
You're right.
You're right.
Because he's goth, but
Because
he's
he's
not.
God,
But he's also
but he's
caustic.
smart,
Yeah.
and he's also like benevolent.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
not
really cracked this wide open. I really did.
Also, and this one, we sound smart because we're talking about literature.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
then more
Indubitably.
things happen in the story. There's a masked ball, which
Yes.
makes everything better, and people get some cool masks.
And people get some weird information. I love so much that.
Oh, you get the classic like, ooh, talking to someone while they're wearing a mask, and you don't know it's that person.
But
Somehow.
you do. And this is why in my read of it, Benedict thinks that Beatrice does not know that it's Benedict, but she fucking knows.
I agree.
Like she
Yeah.
fucking.
Yeah, I think they make
so
it.
she's just like getting at him. She's like,
Yeah.
"You're doing a dumb accent. I'm gonna make you feel bad." And I
Benedict
love
is
it.
such a goofy guy.
Yeah, he truly is. And I think that's so fascinating as like a matching where like Beatrice is just like she's really smart and she's really pithy and she's really like laser focused, and then Benedict also just like can make the mouths of cleverness. Like I never truly feel that like Benedict is actually on Beatrice's level. Like I never feel that. I
No.
feel like he is truly just like living that like courtiers like discussion like
Wait, guys,
I'm gonna sound
This
smart,
has
but
been
I'm not
driving me
smart.
nuts all day.
Okay.
And I think I finally got it.
Okay.
I was trying to think, who do they remind me of in terms of their relationship? And I finally got it.
Okay.
They remind me of Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes and Susie.
Susie Durkins?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
In terms of, you know Calvin and Hobbes?
I don't.
You know,
It finally happened. Patrick said a word and was like, "You know this?" And I went, "Nope."
I mean, you are aware of the comic
I do
strip
know
Calvin
the
and
comic,
Hobbes.
but I don't know the.
I think
You
you're
never
both-
read it?
I think you're both
Oh.
right and wrong. I think that in this play, to your credit, like to like in defense of your position,
Not having heard of Calvin and Hobbes?
no, but in Beatrice,
back,
the Beatrice,
back to the Beatrice and Benedict.
the Beatrice thing, like I think in this, like Shakespeare actually like communicates a lot more sympathy for like women's roles in the society at that point. Like,
but it comes back to a lot of Shakespeare's works where the current climate of society is your father or your patriarch decides who you marry, and you have a lot of pieces of Shakespeare that sort of like fly in the face of that. Like you have Beatrice looking at Hero saying, obviously, like, obey your father's will, and curtsy and say, as it would do you.
she has that really brutal line where she's like, "Would that I could like be a man, or like, but I
that
will
I
be a
could
woman
be a
like
man, but I will
eat his heart
I,
in the
oh my
marketplace."
god, I would eat his
was like,
heart in the marketplace. Is
fuck.
the most perfect line
Yeah.
ever. But like the that really cutesy scene where Beatrice says to Hero, obviously like bow in deference to your father, curtsy and say, "Father, as it please you." But like if he's not your jam, if he's not handsome, if he's not someone you're like down to bone with, curtsy again and say, say, "Father, as it please me," and that was really progressive. That was a really like weird way to illustrate that, and I think it also transcends into pieces like Romeo and Juliet, where the idea is Romeo and Juliet fall in love against their family's wishes, who live in this entire feud, and they die for it. You know, this is like a lesser extent. And I don't know how much like Shakespeare's trying to comment on or rail against, or if he's just looking at it and going like, ooh, that would make interesting drama.
I think probably a little both.
A little of both. But I can't stop thinking about how interesting Beatrice is with her opinions in a society that would cloister her for her ideals, or paint her as an old maid or a heretic or a witch or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really fascinating. And I think it's so like transcendent for its time, considering that there's such a censure on women. And in like a couple scenes later, like Hero's entire life is upended because
kind of proving Beatrice's own reticence to like.
She's gonna be traumatized. She's just like at her wedding and thinks everything is fine, and then the guy she's about to marry just like throws her on the ground and screams
starts
at her.
flipping all the
literally a part of
trellises
me
over
that
and stuff.
looks at that like final wedding scene where like Hero is crying under the veil, and like it looks like she's so happy and she loves him, but like there's a tiny little like part of my like brain that's just like, she married a dude who is so willing to just be like, well, you're dead now and you're replaceable, and I'm going to marry your cousin who looks a lot like you, and I'm still going to get all the titles and holdings that your father and your uncle are privy to. It's such a weird moment, like that secondary wedding scene where he's like, I'll take you, and it's like, but you didn't really get punished for destroying this woman's life.
I'm not so optimistic about like that being a really healthy marriage going forward.
No.
I think even though it's going to be like dysfunctional and wacky and have a lot of conflict, I think Benedict and Beatrice will actually be a more
much
successful
better
pairing.
match.
Yeah, because they'll
just be like delightful bickering all the time.
They come together.
They'll have like sex
They feel like
after
equals.
having fought, and it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
Right.
they're gonna have good
Like fuck, every barb
like I'm
landed.
so mad at you that I'm going to
Makeup
screw
sex,
you
yeah.
so hard that it will seem like a punishment.
There's gonna be weird
to you.
choking and dripping candle
Some
wax on
kink
each other.
shit, for sure. Like,
And my point to you is, I think that Susie and Calvin are more equals than Beatrice and Benedict in this. I think Beatrice has more of a foundational and like deep grounding to her position psychologically, and Benedict is literally like a precocious playboy guy, kind of bachelor.
he's a big
you're
dummy
right,
who
but-
can say the right words.
Yes,
We're also having to think about Calvin and Susie having sex and their children in the comics. So it's
they
fucked
are,
up.
but just the sense of like, you know, they're always fighting, and you can see it being the kind of thing where like, because they live like next door to each other, and then like maybe in high school there's the sort of like, ooh, oh no, I like this person now thing, but also like,
Nice.
you know,
Rugrats all growed up.
I'm sorry you had to think of that, Matt. Your least favorite thing.
I'm so mad now.
But just in the sense of, you know, Calvin has this really active imagination, is like, you know, does all this fun, clever stuff, but also is, you know, kind of dumb in a lot of ways, and Susie has her shit together way more, and is just like you know, better at like
School.
functioning in society.
Yeah.
And he's always just being, you know, an immature baby.
Right.
Even
But if
he's
they got
fun.
together, it would be unstoppable.
Oh my god.
And
power
that's what we
couple.
all realize, and that's the big tragedy.
The true tragedy of Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
Not that Bill Watterson stopped it, but it's that that
Power
Calvin
couple
and
was
Susie will
never-
never truly realize their full potential.
The perpetual tragedy of
But
mankind.
also, I want you guys to recognize how weird it is that you're plotting the love lives of children.
Oh, come on. We've done weirder things on
Oh,
the show.
come now. Oh, come now.
Jake, do you have any thoughts? You've been quiet for like a long time.
No, I don't have any thoughts.
He's brainless. He's
Yeah.
a big
Jake,
dummy.
you're a fucking host. Sorry, I yell at Jake too much on this podcast. Jake's
Yeah.
one of the nicest people I know.
Yeah.
Let's just
I
keep
am.
moving with the plot.
Jake, would you like to move the
I'm like
microphone?
at a loss because like I don't even really remember what scene we're talking about at
Okay,
this
so
point.
here we go.
I'm sorry if I've taken over with my stupid. I've read.
It's
the
not your
text
fault that you
garbage.
sandblasted Jake's smooth ass brain.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean
okay.
to. I have a lot of feelings and a lot of understanding.
No, that's
of
great. I
this-
mean, that's why
of
we wanted to have you on this
Well,
one.
actually, no, it's not. It's, as I said, Rachel wanted to be on the show, and you were like, "Can I do a bunch of new about nothing?" And I was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah."
no,
we
as
wanted
soon
more
as-
people
as
to
soon
come
as-
on for
as
sure.
I
soon
didn't
as
know you
Patrick-
knew all of this about it.
I do.
great.
I'm very deeply entrenched with this goddamn comedy.
Yeah. By the way, we're I think we're getting close to like an hour and 20 minutes. Or sorry, 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
Shit.
Total.
Fuck.
So
Shit.
we should maybe aim to wrap it up in the near future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's do
Ready.
a super lean.
So then Michael Keaton shows up, and
Everybody
he's
fucks.
no.
well, no, they don't.
Oh.
They
Yeah.
really don't, which is the problem.
It's like they're sort of going to.
That's-
Guys, can I just jump ahead to the very final scene because there's a thing I want to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the way this movie ends with a really long, elaborate tracking shot and involving
It's
a
so
whole
good.
lot of flower petal confetti. And it
Yes.
does one of those things that I
Everybody's
love where it's like a
dancing.
long steady cam shot and it really goes through everyone's dancing, goes through like the whole sort of like estate or whatever the term for the place that they're at is called. It's pretty long. It goes from like the wedding through the estate through like the courtyards around the fountain and all of that stuff. And then clearly the Steadicam operator steps onto a crane and then gets lifted way up and it turns into this giant crane
It's
shot.
beautiful.
And I'm just like, what a really lovely celebratory way to end a movie. I wish all movies ended with just a giant, elaborate tracking shot of everyone dancing with confetti and Torpeys. What the fuck is happening?
Matt is just
just being like,
Matt's just rubbing my shoulder
well,
now.
Jake's been silent for a long time.
I'm
and I
sorry,
wonder,
I'm
Jake.
listening. I'm just listening. You guys all have great
I'm
points.
wondering if you're mad and want us to just leave your apartment.
No, not
and
at
then
all.
Matt is now like giggling while looking at Jake, and I'm like, what happened?
I just,
I'm-
listen,
I'm-
man. I just think stuff's funny.
I'm
Yeah,
presenting
but
the floor.
when I'm like talking and Jake is silent and you're giggling and as if like and I'm like there's other communication that I'm not aware
That's
of
true.
happening and
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a divide happening and like I feel like left out of whatever is going
Right.
on there.
No,
I don't
no divide.
understand.
And a house divided cannot stand.
yeah, a pox on both your houses.
That's
Yeah.
what I hear. I think some guy once said that. But
I
don't
think
know.
more movies should just end with dance sequences. This is the only way I know how to get out of this conversation because, like, you're having anxiety and it's really heightening my anxiety.
Rachel,
so
my anxiety is like a full throttle
should just
every time I do this
dance.
podcast.
Everyone should dance at the
Mine
end of
is so
every
low.
movie.
Yeah,
How
I'm
cool,
okay.
Listen, how cool would it be if all of the cast of
Yeah.
any of the John Wick movies just did a dance sequence?
Well,
John Wick
It would
tonight.
rule.
Well, what I was gonna say was
Don't
there.
set him off.
Go
I-
full Slumdog Millionaire, do a
No,
dance sequence.
One of the more surprisingly good movies of the year that no one saw but I did actually did that. I'm
one?
assuming that no one here saw Dora and the Lost City of Gold,
No.
the Dora the
I
don't
Explorer
think so.
live action movie,
No.
which is
It looked funny though.
weirdly good. Well, it's directed by James Bobin, who directed all of Flight of the Conchords and stuff like that.
Oh,
and,
actually,
and
yeah.
then he made like
That's good.
like the 2011 Muppet movie and stuff like that.
Okay.
But anyway, it's and it's written by like the guys who wrote like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and stuff like that.
Weird.
It's like weird. It's like it's way better than it should be, but it ends with this big musical number written by Brett McKenzie.
Oh, damn.
And it's so catchy. And while I was sitting there watching it,
Yeah.
I was like, why doesn't every movie end this way? This is great. I just want to see the whole cast just singing and dancing
Sing
and all
and
together
dance.
in like cool matching outfits.
You should really start watching the Joker.
Joker!
He's here. He did it. It's happening. You should watch any of the Super Sentai television show because all of the credit scenes are all of the Super Sentais.
Super Sentai
dancing.
freaks me out.
Oh, it's great though.
It's no. I saw one episode of some Kamen Rider show in college.
Yeah, but that's
and-
not a Super Sentai.
isn't it?
No, Kamen Rider
what
is
is
different.
Sentai?
Super Sentai is
tentacle
what
porn.
what
what I
becomes Power Rangers in America.
But it's the same
Oh,
genre of
like
show.
Well, I mean, it's
Ninjas in the tight
Japanese, you
suits?
weirdo.
No, but it's people in costumes and there's like transformation sequences and it's all that same kind of stuff.
Yeah, but like,
make it
like a Super
Rider.
Sentai is like a team. Like it's power.
Multicolored.
It's
Okay.
Power Rangers. So imagine an episode of Power Rangers.
But I was never
where
really into
during
Power
the
Rangers as a
credits,
kid.
all of the Power Rangers sing and dance together.
I'm just saying
and it rules.
that
Also, have you watched Assassination Classroom? Because all of the cast of that sings the title
no,
song.
Assassination
It's great.
I will. It's,
You don't have to.
I know.
I don't care
I
enough.
There's
to
so much
force it
anime
on you.
and it's so daunting. And
Anyway, all movies should end with a dance sequence with
Yeah.
all of the cast.
Agreed.
So here's what happens, right?
Yes.
So Don John, he's an evil schemer. He gets one of his henchmen to have sex with Margaret in the window and call out Hero's name. And then, meanwhile, Don John himself is getting Don Pedro and Claudio to go and bear witness to this,
Give it a peek.
to give this a peek.
And he
That's
really
all they
should have been
need.
more clever when he was like hatching this plan because the crew of Night Watchmen assembled by what's his name, Michael Keaton?
Dogberry.
Dogberry.
Yeah.
They just heard this. They found out about it pretty easily.
Well,
Yeah,
they were
they catch 'em
boasting.
very
The other
quickly.
guys
Yeah,
were
but
boasting.
it's a Shakespearean comedy.
Boccaccio or whatever.
I know. This is
Fucking
how it goes to
bocce
Shakespeare.
ball and fucking
Baraccio?
yeah,
Good Shakespeare
nudicles
character.
and fucking Dogberry. And so,
Sorry, I'm not playing in space. I just want these characters to have the names that they have.
play in the space.
Literally,
It's
the
so
worst.
easy. Just don't care as much at all. It's so easy to
I
do.
can't help it. I love Shakespeare.
I'd besmirch the name, a pox on his name, Shakespeare. And so that's enough to convince Claudio that his soon-to-be wife, Hero,
Well, who else is gonna be in her room at that hour?
Yeah.
Also, just like they're all white, brown hair. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
except
Close
for
enough.
Don
Yeah.
Pedro.
You know, I always
Well,
get
the women.
I
Oh,
always
yeah.
get Imelda Staunton and Kate Beckinsale confused.
So
I don't know how
easy to
you
do.
guys
They're
feel
incredibly
about
similar.
It. It's just like it's like twins. What's up?
and twins.
twins.
Friggin' right.
Also, it's so weird that like they just believe Don John, considering that he like
He's already a bad guy in
he
their
like
eyes.
number one, like he's not a good guy. Number two, he already lied and failed to Claudio about Don Pedro making
Right.
the moves on Hero, and it's like, well, that's not true. Claudio's a big dumb dummy, and he deserves to be alone.
That's true, but he also plays an important role as an archetype for just like rom-coms forever to come.
Forever, big dumb idiot who just believes
So
the
then
lies
at
and
their
gets to react
marriage,
bigly.
at their marriage, he decides to wait so that he can like have a fit in front of Hero and like toss a bunch of benches over.
Well, technically, listen, I will not defend Claudio.
Hmm.
They saw Margaret and Baraccio getting it on that night, so
Right.
the wedding was literally the next day.
That's
so
what I'm
it's-
saying is like, but like still, they didn't just go like, I'm not doing it because of X,
I'm not
Y,
gonna
and Z.
like. He probably should have. If he was being practical, he should have just called off the wedding.
Right.
He shouldn't have gone to the wedding, so he could make a huge
So he
scene
could do a big
And
group
and
literally,
embarrass her
and
publicly.
literally ruined Hero to her fake death.
Yeah, I will say I love the kind of classic
Turns into, like,
Shakespeare thing
Midsommar.
where they hear that she's dead,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, "Well, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
well,
that's
yeah.
They take it with
yeah,
such
she's
a
just dead
plum.
now."
Because they hatch a plan after the fact, after like Hero's father is calmed down and the priest is like, what if we have the fucking cool thing where we pretend that she killed herself?
Or no,
I know, I like
she
that the
died.
priest suggests
She
that.
just died of heartbreak or whatever the bullshit.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, you know what? That's awesome.
Well,
and we're
I
gonna
mean,
do
at that time, people were just dying all the time.
Right,
Of like
just
shit, this is
Consumption
like-
from your immune system being suppressed because you were sad.
Well, why not?
Just, like, dying.
people die all the time. So
Yeah.
let's just say she was sad.
So
Yep.
they come to Claudio and are like, villain, blah, blah, blah.
Brian Blessed, by the way.
Yes. And they're like, you are fucking, you've accused my daughter of this thing and it was untrue and now she has died of heartbreak. Emma Thompson, meanwhile, and
In a scene that is beautiful.
inside of a little chapel, finally, her and Benedict have like sort of discussed each other's sort of
Affection.
Yes, but they're like Inception style affection.
Yeah.
Kicking back through the layers of their
about
love.
having affection for one another. She's like, you need to go fight Claudio.
Yeah.
And kill him. Otherwise, like, if I were a guy, I would do it. And if you don't do this, then you don't truly love me because the friend of my enemy is my enemy. So he's like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So then everyone's all over fucking Claudio.
Yeah.
Claudio is just a big, handsome moron who is like, I'm just trying to be a gentleman.
Every
And
time
everyone's throwing
he
him
doesn't
around.
I
Don
will s-
Pedro is icy cold fucking sang Freud about the entire thing. Just like,
I will say I love so much that the actor who is playing Claudio just literally is doing the acting at every moment where he's just like, and Hero's dead and she was innocent. The way his face contorts to be like, I'm sad about it is so good. It's so bad.
listen,
and I
he'll
love
be in
it.
Dr. House soon and make buku bucks.
Can't believe it. He's just like,
So-
Forgot that he was in
"Ooh,
House."
we
So
need
there's
a
that.
lemon."
Meanwhile, Dingleberry and like the fucking other guy, like catch the guys who are
Dingleberry
boasting.
and the fucking other guy.
And
Dogberry, Virgin.
They sure
in the
make a
Night's
commitment
Watch.
to do the Monty Python gag in this
The
movie,
Monty
which
Python
was very
Phantom
weird to me.
Horse thing.
I didn't
weird
understand
to
that.
me.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? I have a voice.
Jake has
They
thoughts
did
too.
the Monty Python thing.
It's true.
I
mean,
can't
call
believe that they
attention to
did
it.
that.
It's
It's so weird.
It's very weird, and I feel like if anyone had done it other than Dogberry, I'd be like, what is going on here? But because Dogberry
Like
is
Denzel Washington.
yeah, exactly, that would be insane. But because Dogberry is such a freak,
Yeah.
and just such
Such a
a
Beetlejuice.
weirdo, yeah, exactly. He's a guy who walked in from a different movie and just invaded this one.
Yeah.
and
But that's who he is.
right, and he's got his little helper dude like slicking back, like licking his thumb and like fixing his disgusting hair.
Did you know that Ben Elton leaned so close into scenes with Michael Keaton so he could legitimately be in more shots?
Oh, it's sad
That's-
too, which is kind
Yeah.
of more funny. Even.
That's pretty wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
It makes the
wonder-
comedy scenes
Wait, keep
work.
going because I realized that I didn't get to talk about Kenneth Branagh's career the way I wanted to.
Let's finish this movie and then let's let Pat finish with Kenneth Branagh's
I
career.
have a
Sure.
really great piece of trivia though, and I'm sitting on it.
Is it
and
Kenneth Branagh?
I will. It's Keanu related.
Okay,
Perfect.
okay.
But that should actually be our end.
So I mean, really from here, yeah, just power through.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Dogberry has like and his like guard. I don't know where they came from, but anyway, he's like Scottish kind of. He overhear this boasting by Don John's henchmen,
Baraccio and Conrad.
Baraccio and Conrad, and they bring them to I guess some sort of judge.
The Sexton.
The Sexton. Thank you. This is perfect.
Yeah, I'm here to help. I was in this show.
The Sexton is convinced of the guilt of Baraccio and Conrad,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some comedy, blah blah blah.
Yeah, because Dogberry doesn't know how to just talk words, and it's
Right.
beautiful. I love how Dogberry does not know how to talk words. Like the moment he
Keaton's
goes,
the best.
"Be vigilant," and I'm
Yes.
like, I love this. And like he's like, "Oh, you're so tedious." Like, "Oh, if I were as tedious as you were, I would shower the masses." And like, you don't understand what words mean, and I love it so much.
It's good. It is one of like
It's perfect.
the out and out comedy
I love
scenes
this
in this movie are some of the best like translations of Shakespeare as intended.
Yes.
Versus like any of the drama. Like I think that's when it really comes through like the language piercing eras and like being able to be understood by people.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it's effervescent.
yes. But anyway, so then that information about the the plot and all this shit by Don John is then communicated to Hero's father. I'm forgetting his name. Leonardo, and they all hear this. The Leonardo and his whole family, and they're like, okay, thank God she has been like vindicated of
been
this
exonerated.
of this crime of just having
Well,
sex.
technically, Leonardo hears it from the sexton, and it is Don Pedro and Claudio who hear it from the Night's Watch.
I mean, we don't need to just.
I'm sorry.
No. It's like we don't need to state every single step of the plot.
I know,
I mean, like
but I'm
no one's
having
listened to this
fun.
episode to find out
Okay.
exactly what happens
Beat by
in
beat.
Much Ado.
All I'm trying to say is that before Don Pedro and Claudio know, the family knows. So they like figure out a way where they again decide to fuck with them, even though like Claudio's literally challenged to a duel and
Yeah.
thinks he's got to marry some like other person who he
He's
doesn't
never
even give a
met.
shit about, who's never met. And they have basically a shotgun kind of sham marriage, but actually heroes there.
Yes.
And like this is the big comedic resolution where everyone's like romantic ties are finally like connected, and like everyone sort of celebrates, and very rapidly Don John is brought in and they're like, we're gonna charge you with crimes so soon, and they
And he
make him
scowls.
go away.
Yeah. I will.
And
I
then
mean,
there's, flowers.
The sort of like the themes of this play are deception as means to an end. Like everybody is deceiving somebody, and everyone is trying to like get what they want through deception, be it Don Pedro deceiving Hero into believing at the dance that he is Claudio, and then being like, surprise, it's me, Don Pedro, you're gonna marry Claudio, and she's like, yay, the good deal, like whatever. Or everyone trying to convince Beatrice and Benedict that they're in love with each other through deception, or the deception of Don John, which doesn't necessarily go well for Don John because like his deception is coming from a place of deep malfeasance and antisocial tendencies, or like the deception of, well, now we're just going to tell everybody that Hero's dead. Another deception. And we're going to make Claudio marry this cousin who doesn't exist. Like, it's all deception. Like, everybody's, like, operating through deception as means to get done what needs to get done, be it marriages or revenge or whatever. Like, that's the whole show.
Yeah.
That's the whole bit.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing, like, even the song that plays repeatedly throughout the play is "Sigh no more, lady, sigh no more. Men were deceivers ever." Like, everybody's lying to everybody to get what they want, and that's the whole deal.
And who's the Prince of Lies?
Lucifer.
It's Lucifer. So would you
This
guys like
is
to
devil worship.
Would you guys and this is the third? Okay, it was Harry Potter, it was My Little Pony, and it turns out
Shakespeare.
Much
it was
Ado About
Shakespeare.
Nothing.
And now, Patrick, would you like to say some concluding
Yes,
thoughts
'cause
about Branagh, and we'll finish with Rachel's thoughts on
I've got-
Keanu.
Because we gotta end this episode.
We gotta.
Because
Listen,
too many of our episodes are hitting like 2.5 hours, and that concerns me.
But also, it's important to recognize that Shakespeare plays are like 5 hours long. So
Yeah, that's
yes,
true.
but I feel
Hamlet, famously 4 hours long.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, 4 hours long.
Yeah.
But
Unabridged.
What I just find so wild about, I mean, I think Kenneth Branagh's whole career is really wild, and I think just like the massive role that Shakespeare has played in it, because he basically launched his feature film acting and directing career with Henry V.
Right.
And then immediately after that, he did make other movies. His second film, which I hear is really good, and I haven't seen, is Dead Again. It's like a black and white movie with him and Emma Thompson.
With reincarnation or something like that.
It's like a neo-noir romantic thriller.
Weird.
And
Right.
but then of course, then he's got this. Then we actually talked about his Frankenstein in our Dracula episode, and so he's doing these big expensive theatrical movies. But then even movies that he doesn't direct, like he's in the 1995 Othello movie. The one with Lawrence Fishburne. He plays Iago. Like continually, he will just like he basically just like runs the game for Shakespeare in Hollywood for so long.
Huge chunk of time.
Yeah. And like as time goes on, he'll even like return to it. Like in 2006, he did As You Like It as I think a movie for HBO. And then what I find amazing and insane about Kenneth Branagh is starting with Thor. He in 2011 he pivoted into this like blockbuster directing career where like he made like the live action Cinderella for Disney. He did Murder on the Orient Express, which was a hit, and he's shooting the sequel right now.
Weird.
But now that he's in this phase where he's making blockbusters and that are largely successful, and so he has this clout, and he can do he can do some passion projects now, which especially like are harder to get made in the current environment in Hollywood. And so I feel like the ultimate culmination of his whole career was last year when he directed and starred in the film All Is True, in which he fucking plays Shakespeare.
Yeah, I remember when this
Weird.
came out.
He finally did it.
Yeah.
He spent like 30 years making the most Shakespeare adaptations of anyone, and then
Yeah.
he plays the
William
guy.
Shakespeare?
And he plays the guy at like the end of his life.
And he
Yeah.
kicks Ray Fiennes in the throat.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't
And,
Ray Fiennes play Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love?
Oh gosh.
No, Joseph Fiennes.
That was Joseph,
Joseph
Fiennes.
Fiennes, yeah.
That one. He kicks that one in the throat.
Exactly.
I don't know.
This-
yeah.
All the Fiennes.
I have
look
no
the
idea
same.
if this movie's any good. It also has Ian McKellen and Judi Dench. But yeah, I just found that so wild that like, it had been like over a decade since Branagh had made a Shakespeare movie, and then he makes the movie where he is Shakespeare. Finally.
Right.
Anyway, Kenneth Branagh, wild, interesting guy. I want to
Yeah.
watch, honestly, like, I'm very curious about his Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'd be interested in watching that.
Yeah, but this is not a podcast about Kenneth
No.
Branagh. It's a podcast about Keanu Reeves. And Rachel, you have some Keanu Reeves trivia for us.
Oh, wait. Before we do that, I have a question for you guys. Do
Yeah.
you think that William Shakespeare was a real person and really wrote these plays?
That is
Are
a
you going to bring up that
huge-
Keanu is apparently a Shakespeare truther?
Is he?
I don't know.
I mean, he kind of tossed this out jokingly in like a BuzzFeed interview.
I hate the idea of truthers, just across the board.
Yeah, but some people on Twitter were like, "Oh, I guess we do have to cancel Keanu because he thinks Shakespeare didn't really write his plays."
Is that a really contentious view to have?
I
that
feel like of
Shakespeare
all-
is not
of-
the sole author
of
of his
all
plays?
of the views that one can have towards truthing, that one's probably the least detrimental.
I was gonna say,
It
I'm like,
is.
this,
To
he's
the
not like
world.
Tower 7 guys or anything like that.
I just
He's
feel like
just-
we couldn't let this go by without being like, you think that...
I don't know too much about it.
I think
to
he
me,
did.
To me, it's a
Yeah.
fascinating question. I
Yeah.
love the idea, and I love that it's even in
I love
contention.
that it's like a question, right?
Exactly.
It's like, who wrote these plays?
I don't understand what the problem would be if he
Because
didn't.
he was like a working class dude, and they don't think he was smart enough to write them, or like it was a collective of people that just like used the nom de plume of William Shakespeare. Like it's one of those weird like who
Yeah.
stole the Irish diamond.
I find it
Like,
interesting to understand why people necessarily what is so bad about it maybe
Yeah.
being true that it was
Guys,
an
we gotta
anonymous
end this
collective.
episode.
I mean,
we
all
have
that-
to end the episode.
all that
It's-
matters
Follow
is
me on
like
Hero.
Too long.
Shakespeare, like whatever it is. Is it a collective? Is it a guy? Is it a girl? Is it a noble? Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
We have the pieces, and they are good pieces, and they work.
Yeah.
I'm trying to kill time for Matt to come back so I can say his trivia.
Oh
Matt,
yeah.
hurry back.
Because I just
This episode is so long, and it's
so
really
long.
freaking me out.
It's okay.
Relax, it's a
it's
podcast.
a podcast.
It's too long.
It's no such thing.
Rachel,
So-
what did you want to say?
As for my views of Keanu, I love him. I think he's great. But I think the most important takeaway that we can garner from this production of Much Ado About Nothing is that Keanu Reeves met Brian Blessed, and they became buddies. And Brian Blessed taught Keanu about meditation.
I did read that.
It's literally the most important thing that you will ever get out of any IMDb trivia.
And on that note, can I read a quote from Kenneth Branagh about Keanu Reeves?
Yes.
Sure.
He's a very enthusiastic actor. He wants to learn. And not necessarily that he was going to come and learn from me, but he was certainly going to learn by doing some Shakespeare and having to be in a situation where there was absolute discipline about the words he was speaking. He couldn't paraphrase or ad-lib. He had to serve the text. You have to be right there for the words. I was very impressed by the way he took to it, the eagerness, the zeal with which he worked on his voice. He's a tremendously passionate creature, and he cares a great deal. He will do two things while working. One, he'll go along with you. For instance, he would go... This quote is too long. He basically talks a lot about how he loves Keanu. Oh, wait. Skip to the end. I was genuinely impressed by what I thought was a very grown-up individual who was utterly serious about his chosen profession.
Just
Rachel, thank you so much for joining us on this very, very long episode.
Thank
Where
you.
can people find your stuff on the internet?
You can follow me on Twitter at I am Rachel Schenk, where I beg Jeff Bezos for $5,000 literally every day. That's the best place to like know what I'm up to. Listen to the Infinity Podcast.
Yeah.
Listen to Screen Snark, my other podcast, my Bastard Child podcast, I guess. Sorry, Matt. I love it. But yeah, that's it. Just like do that, and I'll let you know what I'm up to because I'm cooking up all kinds of terrible shit in the lab, and I don't know what any is gonna come first. So.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much
Nice.
for joining us.
Thank you, guys. This
and
was
for
a
bearing with
delight.
us.
No, I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
There was like literary discussions. There were cum jokes. I mean,
Oh,
what
it's all
more?
there.
I mean,
what
that
more-
can't get enough of Keanu in a nutshell.
What more could a girl want from a podcast appearance?
And on that note, I just want to say, please, thank you to Brian Hose for our theme song. Thank you to Emma Logsdon for our artwork. You should follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Keanu Podcast. If you want to, you can send us an email, keanupodcast@gmail.com. Talk about the episodes in our subreddit, r/Thrillums. Jake, you want to plug anything?
Vero at RealJT.
I thought it was The Real JT.
Yeah.
Follow Jake on Vero at The Real JT and be excellent to each other.
Goodbye.